In heaven and earth, from the outside, there is not much that is surprising about the facade. In other words, a luxury car parked in the distance can attract the attention of passers-by. If they look a few more times, no one will take a photo. There was no greeter at the door. After walking through the first door, there were 2 bodyguards in black wearing sunglasses, and 2 women in maid dresses waiting. The bodyguard is responsible for checking to prevent some weapons from entering, while the woman is there to ease the atmosphere. Wang Kongking and Yi Xing stood at the front. They were one of the top guests here, and the 2 bodyguards and the woman recognized them. The woman said respectfully, "Young Master Wang and young Master Yi, you 2 haven't been here for a long time. Please cooperate with this routine inspection." "Is that your friend behind you?" "Well, yes, I'm also an old customer of yours." Yi Xing responded with a smile. 643. The woman quickly smiled and said, "Then I wish you all a good time." The relevant thing is that all the so-called inspections passed in less than a minute. Go forward and cross the second door, which is the true face of heaven and earth. Everything behind it is used to deceive others. The woman in charge of calming down the atmosphere at the door saw the 5 Wang Kongking entering and quickly took out her walkie-talkie to notify the superiors. Sister 2, young Master Wang and young Master Yi went up with a few friends. "New." The intercom responded once, but there was no sound. On the other side, Wang Kongking and 5 others entered the real interior, and others came several times with clear goals. Zhang Chen followed behind and looked around curiously. The interior area was very large. There are small doors, fish tanks, rockeries, calligraphy and paintings in all directions, which are very charming. Wang Kongking and Yi Xing turned back to look at Zhang Chen. "Today is mainly to say goodbye to Brother Zhang. You said where you want to go. We are already here. I will tell you about the specific project. It is early now and it is a little quiet. Here, the walls of every room are made of the best sound insulation materials, so the privacy is very good. Consumption is divided into general, mid-level, high-end and top-level. In fact, the price is based on the money consumed and the quality of the woman. The better, the better." Zhang Chen raised his eyebrows and was about to speak when he suddenly looked forward. The other 4 people also looked over subconsciously, and an elegant and intellectual woman in her 30s wearing glasses walked over. A little distance away, the woman laughed softly and said, "Young Master Wang, young Master Yi, young Master Feng and young Master Li, you 4 uncles rarely come here. Don't blame me for not going out to greet you today. Who is your friend behind you?" Li Shang muttered, "Little goblin, fortunately I have enough concentration." Zhang Chen looked over with a strange look. If he was younger, might he have some bad thoughts? Wang Kongking introduced with a smile. "That's our friend, surnamed Zhang. Today is mainly to see him off. You just happen to be here. Please introduce the projects here. I want them to be practical." The woman was a little surprised. The status of the 4 eldest friends should not be that low. She nodded. "Okay, no problem." Zhang Chen listened to the 2 chatting and asked in a low voice, "Li Shang, what does the practical project Wang Kongking mean?" "Practical projects don't have those frivolous ones, such as spending thousands to listen to singing, but there is nothing practical about it." Li Shang continued. "The woman's name is Tu Yu. The first time I came here, I listened to a few songs in a daze and spent 5,000, but the songs she sang were not as good as those singers." He was still going to explain a few words when a woman named Tu Yu came up in circles, her eyes could discharge. "Master Zhang, this is your first time here. Let me give you a detailed introduction." When Li Xiaobai spent the 5,000 yuan, he felt very resentful. Li Shang looked up at the ceiling depressedly, not wanting to speak. "Sorry to trouble you." Zhang Chen nodded slightly. 5 people became 6. After Tu Yu joined in, there was no awkwardness in the chat. While chatting with Wang Kongking and 4 other people, he can also explain to Zhang Chen the projects that the men here are interested in. When the 6 of them took the elevator to the 5th floor, Zhang Chen also had a rough idea of what they could play. The entire building is like heaven and earth. They have set up the front desk on the 5th floor. You have to be careful about which floor you choose depending on what service you want. Yi Xing stretched out his hand and signaled, "Brother Zhang, please order some. Just tell me what you like. I understand." Zhang Chen rolled his eyes and stepped forward to talk to the front desk. 4 people invited him together. He couldn't ask for that kind of individual service. So what's the point of a party? Finally, he called a box and 15 women came over to see each one choose. According to 2U, after the show, anyone who is interested in talking can be taken to the hotel. After that, there will be one less person in the top consumer places. Apart from the superficial items, the special feature of heaven and earth is inside the room. But the taste can only be experienced by one person alone. The darker the sky, the brighter the neon lights in the Magic City shine, especially at 12 o'clock at night. In the upper box of the heaven and earth, Zhang Chen and Li Shang were each accompanied by a woman, and their eyes moved intentionally. Suddenly, Yi Xing said, "It's getting late now. There is a place to sleep in heaven and earth. Why don't you go back to your room and sleep?" "I think it's okay. Brother Zhang will wake up and leave tomorrow. We'll wait for the Airbus to fly back." Feng Jia expressed support. Zhang Chen had a smile in his eyes. "You said so, that's it for today. I will go see the Airbus A380 as soon as possible. After all, I also want to experience swimming in the air." The five of them hit it off immediately, took the people around them to different rooms, and knew everything they could do. The next day, 8 o'clock in the morning, Zhang Chen was still asleep when he was woken up by his alarm. He took out his cell phone and looked at it. The departure schedule reminded him that today was the day to return to Nanchung. "Fortunately, I bought the ticket late, so it's just the right time to go there," Zhang Chen muttered, took out his mobile phone and called Li Hu and Lu Yifei. "Li Hu, come to heaven to pick me up. Let Yifei prepare on May 8th and go back." "Yes." Illustrated report. After hanging up the phone, Zhang Chen slowly got up, washed up, and had breakfast. It took a lot of time to come from the Peninsula Hotel. He estimated that Wang Kongqing, Li Shang and others were sleeping and did not send a message to say goodbye. Half an hour later, Li Hu drove his Rolls-Royce to heaven and earth, with an employee from the 4S store sitting in the co-pilot. This car is exactly the one Zhang Chen wants to sell. Li Hu was worried that his boss would not be used to that kind of taxi, so he drove it here specially. Lu Yifei was not in the car, so she went to the airport in advance to pick up her tickets while waiting for the two of them to pass. Regarding Li Hu's handling of this small detail, Zhang Chen didn't say anything on the surface, but he was still very satisfied in his heart. "This bodyguard is well hired. I will look for an opportunity to increase my salary." Li Hu drove his Rolls-Royce directly into the Magic City International Airport. After handing the car to the employee at the Rolls-Royce 4S store, Li Hu followed Zhang Chen to the boarding area. Not long after the two walked in, a voice came from afar. "Brother Zhang, I'm over here and I just happened to meet you." Lu Yifei ran over excitedly with a cup of milk tea in his hand. Finally going back, she was almost rusty after staying at the Peninsula Hotel in Shanghai for the past few days. Zhang Chen smiled and nodded. "Well, be happy to go back. How long does it take for the plane to take off?" When asked about this, Lu Yifei puffed up his cheeks in dissatisfaction and said, "Brother Zhang, the plane at this airport is blocked and will be delayed by half an hour. Based on the current time, we will have to wait here for 15 minutes. If we change to another flight, we will have to wait longer." If it weren't for their sincerity, I would have complained a long time ago, huh? Zhang Chen frowned slightly and waved his hand. "Forget it, it's useless to complain. We still have to wait if we should. The most they can do is send a letter of apology. If their own planes don't have this problem, they will definitely not have this problem." He thought again about the Airbus A380 that Li Shang and the others talked about yesterday. It seemed that the company's affairs needed to be dealt with as soon as possible. It's really uncomfortable to sit around and wait for other people's arrangements. Lu Yifei didn't hear what he said next. The three of them wandered around carelessly and finally sat down not far from the boarding area. Li Hu stood behind the two of them, looking around with his eyes. In 15 minutes, no more, no less, as the broadcast sounded, the plane landed here immediately. The three of them, Zhang Chen, bought a first-class cabin. A staff member from the airline came to apologize sincerely, saying, "I'm sorry." Finally, they invited 3 people to board the plane early, saying that they would be compensated on the plane. Regarding this, Zhang Chen didn't comment much. Just take his own plane to travel next time. In the middle of the trip, I took a photo and posted it on Moments to show that I had left and would not greet each other. After sleeping for a few hours on the plane, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the plane landed smoothly at Nanchung Airport. After getting off the plane, Zhang Chen stretched out comfortably. This time he visited the Magic City and gained a lot. He expanded some contacts and saw things he had never seen before. When Wang Kongking, Li Shang and others grow up and inherit the family business, their influence cannot be underestimated. In particular, the small circle of 7 people led by Zhang Chen is definitely considered a tyrant in the Magic City. As for Lu Yifei and Han Xiying, they just thought of raising a few more canaries that they could tease and play with if they had nothing to do. As soon as Zhang Chen took Lu Yifei and Li Hu out of the airport, a Rolls-Royce Phantom drove up, one of the bodyguards he had recruited. There were 8 Audi A6s clearing the way in front and behind, and 9 bodyguards got out of the car together and respectfully opened the door of the Rolls-Royce. They said in unison, "Boss, please get in the car." This scene was obviously arranged by Li Hu. The bodyguard here didn't know Zhang Chen's travel time yet. Yes. Zhang Chen smiled with satisfaction, and pulled Lu Yifei in a daze. "Yifei, get in the car, what are you thinking about?" Lu Yifei told the truth. I didn't expect anything, I was a little surprised. "Brother Zhang, I thought you were already very strong, but I didn't expect you to be even stronger. I was a little underestimated." "Haha, these are just appearances, let's go." Zhang Chen laughed. After getting in the car, the bodyguard who was originally driving had been replaced by Li Hu. He turned around and asked, "Boss, where are you going first?" Zhang Chen pondered for a while, then raised his head and said, "Go to Tiancheng real estate first, Yi Fei. Your sister Li also asked her to come over, and I will make arrangements for you." The 2 voices sounded at the same time, and the convoy began to leave slowly. Outside the airport, some drivers waiting to solicit passengers happened to see this scene and shook their heads and sighed. "That young man is amazing. He is a beautiful bodyguard in a beautiful car. He is at the pinnacle of his life." Someone said bitterly, "I don't know whose son he is. He is becoming more and more ostentatious now. He may be aborted one day. At least it's okay now. Did you notice that the license plate number, even the serial numbers, the license plate can be sold for tens of thousands? We are so envious that we can't come. Let's work honestly. Another plane has landed." The drivers quickly got to work. Outside the Greenland building, a taxi stopped, the back door opened, and a woman about 40 years old got out of the car while comparing the idea map on her mobile phone. She murmured, "This is the place. Should I wait upstairs, or just below the building?" The woman and the driver finished paying, hesitated for a while, and finally stood waiting at the door of the Greenland building. She is naturally Li Xin, who Lu Yifei notified, so she still feels more sincere below. "It didn't take long, and I stood still for only a few minutes." Li Xin saw a convoy approaching, with 4 Audi A6s in front clearing the way, protecting the Rolls-Royce behind them. Behind the Rolls-Royce, there are also 4 Audi A6s with a strong aura. When driving to the underground parking lot, the security guard at the checkpoint didn't dare to ask a question. It turns out that there are many rich people in Nanchung. Li Xin stood on tiptoes and looked around. If she hadn't known that many wealthy people were taboo about others taking random photos, she would have gone to the underground garage to take photos. That Rolls-Royce was no ordinary car. Not long after, a group of men in black clothes came out from the underground garage, and they were scattered around. Someone suddenly rushed out of the looming front, the boss of the center. Li Xin waited under the Greenland building and glanced casually. Her eyes suddenly couldn't move away. 220. Yifei, and Mr. Zhang? Could it be that the motorcade just now was Mr. Yang's motorcade? Li Xin felt her breathing become heavier, and her whole body became excited. The boss was strong, and the employees working under the boss were naturally happy. Because that means the starting point will be higher and more knowledgeable than others. Li Xin hurriedly tidied her clothes, with a kind smile on her face. She shouted from a distance, "Hello, boss." It wasn't that she didn't want to step forward and speak, because one of the 9 bodyguards blocked her and wouldn't let her pass. Zhang Chen was discussing acting with Lu Yifei when he heard someone shouting and looked up. "Let her in, she is my subordinate." Li Xin ran to Zhang Chen and smiled, not knowing what to say. Seeing this, Lu Yifei said, "Sister Li, you come first and follow behind. When Brother Zhang handles the company's affairs, he will make arrangements for you. Don't be anxious." It's okay, I'm not in a hurry," Li Xin replied and followed behind. Zhang Chen glanced at it, still thinking about what he just said. Is it for Lu Yifei to open an acting company, Or is he to be stuffed into the Tiancheng Performing Arts Company? After all, Chen Yinner has already settled in advance. With that in mind, Zhang Chen walked into the elevator and headed to the 36th floor. The elevator door opened and Zhang Chen took the lead to walk out first. Lu Yifei and Li Xin saw the entrance wall made of white marble at a glance. The 4 characters, Tiancheng Real Estate, are engraved on the wall, and the writing is full of energy. The 2 of them were stunned. If Li Hu hadn't turned around and called them, they would still be staring at each other. Bypassing the entrance wall is the company hall. In the center of the hall is a swimming pool, and 6 rooms are divided around the swimming pool. Lu Yifei and Li Xin were stunned again. Is this a company? No matter how you look at it, this place is more of a leisure and entertainment place than an office place. Because they also saw a game room through the glass door, it was a real entertainment venue, right? Zhang Chen looked back, rolled his eyes, and paid no attention to the 2 of them. If you're shocked, just be shocked. Anyway, these 36 floors belong to him. When he regains his senses, he can go anywhere he wants. As soon as he walked to the door and wanted to go in, he heard an excited voice coming from inside. The foreign exchange has fallen again just now. The boss is a genius. I don't know how long it will take for him to come back. I want to become the boss's pendant. How are you guys doing lately? Why don't you find time to have a good meal? Old Xian, you only entertained us a few days ago. This makes you so embarrassed to entertain guests. The food at Dongyue restaurant is pretty good. That makes sense. I still miss the days when my boss was here and I was already familiar with the business. Old Xian took us too slowly, but the boss is so powerful. I miss him too. The chirping sounds came from everyone, and it was obvious that everyone was very happy. The happiest person was Qian Jinglan. The foreign exchange trader Zhang Chen recruited back then probably had a good understanding and followed his plan and took a few sips of soup. Listened to many employees praise him and worship him in his absence. There was a smile on Zhang Chen's lips, but soon the expression on his face returned to its original state and he walked in. The employees of Tiancheng Real Estate are all working on the computer and chatting loudly. Wang Jiaming picked up the teacup and was about to pour a glass of water. When she saw the figure at the door, she paused and couldn't say a word. Soon, the whole office was quiet. Not long after, Li Wanqing cheered. Mr. Zhang, welcome back, we all miss you. Hello, boss. He looks very energetic. Welcome Mr. Zhang to return. The crowd's flattery came one after another, and Zhang Chen's originally serious face softened subconsciously. He waved his hand, and all the sounds in the studio suddenly stopped. Okay, you did a good job while I was away. Li Wanqing, you can go to my office and report on your work. The others are working as normal. I'll invite everyone out for a meal in a few days. After Zhang Chen finished speaking, he turned and walked into his exclusive office. Li Wanqing raised her index finger and put it to her mouth, making a silent gesture. Walking into the office with small steps. Outside, all the employees were excited and they were talking quietly. Qian Jinglan was the most excited. Because in the foreign exchange market, he strictly followed Zhang Chen's requirements without making any mistakes, and the results he obtained were extremely gratifying. When the boss asked, I can show off my achievements. Zhang Chen walked into his boss's office, and his eyes lit up when he saw the separate indoor golf area inadvertently. He was thinking about it last time, listening to reports from his subordinates while playing golf. Unfortunately, the company had just opened at that time, so there were no people and nothing to report. Isn't now the opportunity? Zhang Chen picked up the golf club and made an unstandardized swing. Without letting him wait long, Li Wanqing knocked on the ajar door and walked in to prepare a report. Mr. Zhang, recently Mr. Zhang. I can't hear you if you stand so far away. Come to me and report. Li Wanqing was confused for a while, then stepped forward helplessly, wondering what the boss had in mind. Zhang Chen rolled his eyes and continued to swing the golf club. Well, you can report now. After I left, what changes did the company make and whether there were any problems? Mr. Zhang, after you left, the atmosphere in the company has continued to rise, but has declined recently. There are no problems, only some good things. Qian Jinglan is happy every day according to your plan. I also made some small money with some employees, so I am in good spirits these days. Li Wanqing's report was very detailed, and there were no conflicts in the company. After all, the monthly salary is 100,000 yuan, The working environment is good, and there is a boss above, so it is difficult to come up with conflicts. But if others can make extra money, that's their skill. After Zhang Chen heard this, he put the golf club aside and kicked the ball casually, causing the ball to roll to the side. He sat back down in the boss's seat without changing his expression. If there are no problems on your side, go and call Qian Jinglan. Tiancheng Real Estate will arrange some projects for you in the near future. I'm going out in a few days, please keep an eye on me. Mr. Nijiang, let's go right away. Li Wanshan looked happy. Is the company going to start investment projects again? Last time, she made tens of millions and became a little rich woman because she followed the company trend. The same is true for several colleagues. If you seize the opportunity this time, it is not impossible to become a billionaire in the future. Qian Jinglan was notified quickly and his boss asked him to go in and report on his work. He immediately sorted out the results of these days' work and knocked on the office door excitedly. Come in. Zhang Chen crossed his legs. Qian Jinglan gently closed the door and said respectfully, Hello, boss, you are looking for me. How's the foreign exchange thing going? Zhang Chen knocked on the chair, raised his head and asked. Qian Jinglan lowered his head. Boss, everything is being done according to your instructions, with a capital of 8 billion. Currently, the compound profit has reached 45 billion yuan. Today we are shorting the pound. If we close the net at 6 p.m., it may reach 60 billion yuan. This is all your decision, good luck. Zhang Chen nodded slightly. Yeah, not bad. In addition to the 10 billion he had when he went to the Magic City, his small goal of 100 billion can be achieved soon. Qian Jinglan's expression froze. In just a few days, he had rushed from 8 billion to 45 billion. Could you please tell me, is that okay? Soon, Qian Jinglan threw away the idea in his heart and couldn't look at Boswa with ordinary people's thinking. Those tens of billions may really be just okay for the boss. Zhang Chen thought for a while and said, after you close the network today, you will leave 8 billion as working capital. The rest will be transferred to my account. Yes. Qian Jinglan responded and left the office respectfully. At this time, Lu Yifei and Li Xin hesitated for a while and finally knocked on the door here. They had seen several other places, including a game room and a spa hall, but there were voices here, probably from companies. So they thought. The knocking on the door was very small at first, and then gradually grew louder, attracting Chen Li's attention. She complained dissatisfiedly. Who is this? It doesn't look like a customer. I don't know how to just open the door and come in. Opening the door, there were two people standing outside. The first one was extremely beautiful, and the one behind was older. Chen Li looked at it for a while, and suddenly felt a sense of shame in her heart. She said in a stuttering tone, Who are you? What's the matter here? Lu Yifei looked through the crack in the door. We came here with Mr. Zhang. We got separated just now. Come and ask for the way out. Chen Li's heart moved. This floor belonged to Mr. Zhang, and the two people in front of her were looking for the boss. She took a step aside. Mr. Zhang is dealing with things and is in the office now. You can knock on the door or wait here. Lu Yifei wanted to say something else, but Li Xin quickly interrupted. Okay. Let's wait here for the Workers' Congress to come out. Two people suddenly appeared in the company, attracting everyone's attention. But he just took a look and had no intention of coming forward to talk. At this time, Zhang Chen was thinking about which plan would suit Tiancheng Real Estate and Tiancheng Performing Arts Branch. Lu Yifei and Lu Yifei were forgotten for a while. It wasn't until he prepared Tiancheng Real Estate's acquisition plan that he suddenly remembered such a thing. As soon as Zhang Chen left the office, he saw two people sitting very reservedly. He waved his hand. Yifei, who else? You two come in. Seeing Zhang Chen waving, Lu Yifei's eyes lit up and he hurriedly ran up, while Li Xin was 2 steps behind. She didn't want to act as a light bulb in the past. It would be tragic if the light was extinguished one day. Zhang Chen sat back on the boss's chair and changed the topic from before. Yifei, and you two have decided whether to join the Tiancheng Performing Arts Branch or to find a new company for you. There are pros and cons in this. You will tell me later. Main Yifei, you are an actor, and that one is an agent. The agent doesn't have to think about anything, you decide first. He is throwing the question out directly. Even if he reopened a company, he would still have his subordinates run errands, and it was impossible for him to do it himself. It was up to them to decide. Lu Yifei and Li Xin fell into deep thought. Li Xin thought for a while and whispered, "Yifei, why don't you directly enter the Tiancheng Performing Arts branch? It's not that troublesome. And it's no problem for a company's resources to support a few stars. Given Mr. Yang's strength, think about it." Lu Yifei nodded hesitantly. "Okay then, Brother Zhang, please arrange for Sister Li and me to enter Tiancheng Performing Arts Company." "Okay, then prepare to take you two to the door tomorrow." Zhang Chen nodded, stood up and picked up a document on the table, which contained what Tiancheng Real Estate was going to do after the purchase. Every time the boss's office door opens and closes, all employees have to look twice. And Li Wanchen is even more so. I just heard Zhang Chen's words and I'm looking forward to when the project will be announced. It's another hugging moment. I can't let go. This time, Zhang Chen's figure appeared at the door, holding a document in his hand. Ahem. After 2 coughs, everyone in the office stopped what they were doing. At this moment, it was extremely quiet. Lu Yifei and Li Xin, who were following behind, saw their eyes widened and gasped. How much prestige does it take to achieve this level? Everyone's reaction speed is different. Being able to respond at the same time means that everyone is paying attention to the boss at all times. Regarding this situation, Zhang Chen nodded with satisfaction. I went out a few days ago. When I came back, I found that everyone was doing well. It is said that they are all proficient in business. Is that true? Currently, I have compiled an investment document, which is the benchmark for Tiancheng Real Estate during this period. The time has come to test your business, and I will not guide you. I only have one request, at least double the profit. As soon as he said this, everyone's eyes turned to the document in Zhang Chen's hand. Chen Li was even more excited. Finally, this moment came again. The first 2 times she ate meat or soup, she didn't get a portion. Instead, she was stabbed twice. It was because of her own reasons that she was extremely upset. Don't lose any chance this time. You have to follow the boss. When Chen Li confirmed her thoughts in her heart, others also became excited. As for that request, they didn't take it to heart. The project chosen by the boss must be the best. If they can't make twice as much profit, then they really have to pay the responsibility. Li Wanchen immediately asked, "Mr. Zhang, when will this document be implemented and who will it be handed over to?" "Yes, does it start from today? Is it too hasty?" "That's too slow. It's best to start today." The boss finally started to come up with projects. In the office, Lun's voice rang out, and they were all very happy when they saw different things, but nothing out of the ordinary. Zhang Chen waited for them to calm down for a while, then raised his hands. The office suddenly became extremely quiet. Lu Yifei looked at this scene, staring at the tall figure with misty eyes. At this moment, she suddenly felt that she was very lucky to be chosen by Zhang Chen and become his woman. The most important thing is to be taken to Nanchung and followed by him. Of course Zhang Chen didn't know about the psychological changes that occurred in the woman behind him, and he unintentionally impressed another person. "I plan to let you implement this plan. You can start at any time. The investment amount has been fixed. Who should I give it to first? Whoever has it in his hands will bear most of the responsibility." Li Wanchen hesitated for a while, then stood up resolutely and said, "Mr. Zhang, I want to give it a try." "Very good." Zhang Chen handed over the document casually. "Your layout should be enlarged, and don't worry about small gains and losses. The matter of Tiancheng Real Estate has been settled. After 10 days and a half, I came to check the results." While it was still early, Zhang Chen took Lu Yifei and Li Xin to the Tiancheng Performing Arts branch. As soon as they left, the office suddenly became boiling. But due to Li Wanchen's usual prestige, no one dared to do anything wanton. Lu Jiaming said shamelessly, "Well, Sister Li, what kind of project is it? How about we start tomorrow?" Chen Li said, "Yes, starting a day earlier will also allow the boss to see our progress." Li Wanchen rolled her eyes. "I don't know what you guys are thinking." She opened the document in front of everyone and was very curious about the investment direction. Zhang Chen was not interested in knowing how the people in the studio would react. At this time, he was heading to Tiancheng Performing Arts branch according to his memory, but he didn't remember the route very clearly. Because when he opened the company, he didn't go with him, but asked Li Wanchen to come forward. He came back to listen to the report and ignored it. In the car, Lu Yifei asked curiously, "Brother Zhang, How long has Tiancheng Performing Arts Company been established? Is there a director? Who are the main actors? If you have a senior you know, according to the rules, you have to go over and say hello first. Zhang Chen's mind immediately thought of Li Xiaohe, the director who made 5 bad dramas in a row, and Chen Yin'er, who was filming his graduation film. The last time you invested 10 million, how far has it reached now? Lu Yifei shouted softly again, and Zhang Chen came back to his senses. That branch opened recently, but you don't need to worry about its capabilities. The director's name is Li Xiaohe, and the lead actor is a newcomer. When he talks about strength, he refers to the funds, not the strength of the director and people. After all, the director's potential is high. Before it is developed, he is just a waste, better than ordinary people. As for Chen Yin'er, she is still young enough and needs time to grow up. Lu Yifei said sweetly, "Thank you, Brother Zhang." Now she felt relieved. If Zhang Chen was surrounded by such powerful people, she would be under great pressure. After all, no matter it is people or things, what we fear most is comparison. While they were talking, several people saw a plaque from a distance, with the 4 characters, Tiancheng Performing Arts, clearly written on it. We found the place. Zhang Chen looked at it and walked in with Lu Yifei and Li Xin. As a bodyguard, Li Hu followed not far behind. This is just a branch of Tiancheng Real Estate, but compared to the head office, it only lacks momentum and floor space. But compared to other companies, it's not that bad. As soon as the 4 people walked in, a woman stood up at the front desk. "Hello, what can I do for you?" "Our company will not undertake any business cooperation for the time being, and there are currently no recruitment plans." When she saw that one of Zhang Chen and Lu Yifei was handsome and the other was pretty and decent, she thought they were applying for actors. Several waves of people had come, but they were all turned away. No more recruiting? Lu Yifei panicked and subconsciously looked at the man next to him. Li Xin in the back also thought for a moment, is he going to become a vagrant? Zhang Chen waved his hand. "It's just that we are not recruiting people at the moment. I will ask them to change their opinion in the next minute, and I will change it back later." There was a strong sense of confidence as he spoke. The woman at the front desk frowned slightly every day, but instead of refuting immediately, she sent a message to the upper management. After that, the front desk stopped caring about these 4 people. If they are good looking, they can talk nonsense casually. There was a sudden silence in the air. None of the 5 people spoke. Zhang Chen sat on a chair to rest without anyone else. "Yifei, don't just stand around. Come and sit down. I've contacted the person in charge here and I can change the result right away." Lu Yifei was convinced, and immediately remembered that this company also belonged to Zhang Chen. Of course, the rules were to be changed as he wanted, and he would definitely not break his promise to her. As soon as a few people sat down, within a few minutes, there was a sound of running from the back door, very fast. With a bang, a middle-aged man with long hair parted in the middle and big glasses, who looked polite, ran in. He took a breath first. Then he came to Zhang Chen and said for some reason, "Hello, boss." "Yes." Zhang Chen nodded slightly. "Where did you shoot your script? How is the progress now?" Li Xiaohe said with some embarrassment. "We are still familiarizing ourselves with the script, preparing photography equipment, and the location has been selected. We are just waiting for an auspicious day to start shooting for the first time." "That's okay." Zhang Chen didn't hesitate and pointed to Lu Yifei and Li Xin on the side. "You can arrange for these 2 people to go in. One is an agent, the other is an actor, and they will be the second female. The requirements are the same. I will talk to Chen Yin'er. You take her to get familiar with the environment, and then call Chen Yin'er." Li Xiaohe's heart moved, and he understood that 2 more related people came in. This time there were 3 people, but the younger and more beautiful one was the one who was most important to fawn over, and forget about the other one. Thinking of this, his attitude became much better. "Come this way, you 2, and I will tell you about the situation here." Li Xiaohe left, and about 5 minutes later, Chen Yin'er ran in. "Brother Zhang, I haven't seen you for so long, I miss you so much." Zhang Chen smiled and was pulled in by her. This was the first time he watched this branch in detail. The 2 of them were walking and chatting. Most of the time it was Chen Yin'er who was talking. She was reviewing the lines, discussing the script with the director, etc. There are also the auspicious days and auspicious dates to be determined when starting work, and how to choose the supporting roles. Zhang Chen smiled and nodded along the way. He didn't say anything about what happened in the Magic City. Because those are too far away from Chen Yinner, and he can't touch them. Currently, he can only look up to them. After visiting Tiancheng Entertainment Company, Zhang Chen told Lu Yifei about Lu Yifei. He didn't want to secretly develop an underground relationship. To the public, he has become a billionaire, and will soon reach 100 billion. Isn't it a joke to have to worry about this and that when playing with several women, and he is supporting these women with one hand? After Chen Yinner learned about Lu Yifei's incident, she was smart enough not to mention it and treated it as a trivial matter. Brother Zhang, did Director Li tell you about the crew and equipment? Huh? Zhang Chen was slightly startled. What? Li Xiaohei didn't tell me. The company is short of equipment now? Chen Yinner nodded directly. Yes, there are still some management personnel missing. Director Li and I are not good at management, and now we are a little reluctant with the small number of people. It's easy to handle. Zhang Chen didn't think twice. I'll let Li Wanchen make arrangements later. Don't worry about not having the right. I'll give you 10 million funds. You can apply to Li Wanchen yourself later. Don't ask me for this little matter. At this time, Lu Yifei and Li Xin came back, and they had a rough impression of this place. Zhang Chen stayed for a while longer and took the two of them away. They had finally settled down and were ready to report on Tiancheng Performing Arts. At 6 o'clock that night, Qian Zhonglin's foreign exchange short selling closed, leaving 8 billion in funds, and the remaining 52 billion were transferred to Zhang Chen. Time passed slowly like this. 2 days later, in the office of the boss of Tiancheng Real Estate, Zhang Chen smiled and sent away Wang Yi, who came to visit, and began to summarize. The matter of Tiancheng Real Estate has been settled, as has Tiancheng Performing Arts. Qian Zhonglin still speculates in foreign exchange every day, as he said. I also checked the renovation progress of Nanchung Manor and saw that Sister Huang Mengya was doing an impressive job. Everything is developing for the better, and now there is only one left. Go abroad to see Airbus A38 billion. To be honest, Zhang Chen has never been abroad before, but he has a lot of documents. In a blink of an eye, it was time to go abroad to see a private jet. When Zhang Chen recalled his experience, he was filled with emotion. With his net worth soaring, the 4 billion private jet with a swimming pool seems to cost nothing to maintain. Zhang Chen immediately contacted Li Shang in Magic City. Brother Li, I'm going to Country M to watch the plane. Can I bring my bodyguard with me? Are there any rules there that I need to pay attention to? Foreign countries are no different than China. The regions are different and there are many things to pay attention to. Otherwise, it is easy to be deceived if you are not careful. Li Shang was silent for a while and then made a phone call. Brother Zhang, this typing is too troublesome. I told you on the phone that your affairs in Nanchung have been settled. 3-0. Well, not anymore. I have all the documents for anything and can leave at any time. Over the phone, Li Shang thought for a while and said, Okay, there are only a few things you need to pay attention to in Country M1 is the law enforcement agencies over there. Just do whatever they say. Don't try to resist, because you may be shot at any time. If you abide by the law, this kind of thing will not happen. It is best to bring a few bodyguards who are familiar with foreign environments. Unfamiliar bodyguards will only cause trouble for the employer. One more thing, it is best for the bodyguard to understand foreign languages. If not, you need to find a translator to accompany you. In addition, before you go to Country M, go to Waki Bank to apply for an international black gold card. It will be very convenient for you to go out in the future. Zhang Chen nodded thoughtfully. Okay, I understand. Then I will arrange for people to resolve these matters and meet at the Magic City International Airport? Li Shang gloated and said, Okay, Brother Zhang, I'll wait for you. Just let me know. After the two ended the call, Zhang Chen immediately called Li Hu and Li Wanchen. Li Hu had worked as a mercenary abroad. He knew the customs of each country well and the language was not difficult. He also recommended 3 colleagues. The 4 bodyguards who went abroad were appointed in this way. The 4 of them have all their documents, so they won't waste any time and can leave at any time. Li Wanchen contacted Waki Bank to apply for the black gold card. As long as the funds are sufficient, it is easy to do so. 3 days later, Zhang Chen contacted Li Shang and he was ready to leave. This is still the international private courier issued by the black gold card. It takes a lot of time to transport it by air. The employees of Tiancheng Real Estate knew about Zhang Chen's departure this time, but they needed to work, so Li Wanchen came to see him off as a representative. 3 Rolls-Royces were driving on Nanchung Avenue, attracting passers-by's attention. Li Wanchen and Zhang Chen were sitting in the back seat of the car, and she said with some reluctance, "Brother Zhang, you just came back not long ago, and you were going out again. How long will it take for you to come back this time? I'm a little frustrated without you on that project." Zhang Chen spread his hands. "It's hard to say. If it goes well, it will take 3 to 5 days. If it doesn't go well, it will take a week or more. That project is very simple. As I said, look at the overall situation and don't focus on temporary gains and losses. During this period, we do not rule out the possibility of traveling and walking in country M." While the two were chatting, 3 Rolls-Royces slowly drove into the airport, and in the distance, planes continued to take off and land. Li Hu did not turn off the engine. After getting off the car, he opened the door for Zhang Chen and waited for his colleague to drive away. 6 bodyguards got off the other 2 cars, and 3 of them stepped forward to follow. Zhang Chen walked out slowly and stretched his body. As soon as everyone arrived, before they could say anything, a man in a suit trotted over from a distance. "Is this Mr. Zhang?" "Yeah." Zhang Chen asked casually, "Is the plane ready? Let's go when it's ready." This time, in order to avoid delays and other problems, he directly chartered a plane to go to Shanghai, which was convenient and fast. The price is not expensive, but the main thing is that it has no special features and is similar to other aircraft. The man in a suit bent down and said, "The plane has been prepared for a long time and can take off at any time. Please get on the plane." Zhang Chen left without looking back, shaking his hand behind him as a farewell. Magic City, a city with magical power, is one of the favorite places for rich people. At the Shanghai International Airport, a strange plane landed smoothly. This plane was the same as other planes. It was strange because only 5 people got off the plane that could carry hundreds of people. You know, this is a commercial plane, not someone's private plane, but it only serves 5 people? 4 of them were wearing ordinary clothes, but when they walked, they formed a square. While observing the people going around, there was a young man in the middle. Someone who was about to board the plane happened to see this scene through the tempered glass and couldn't help but express his true feelings. Holy crap, is that the life of rich people? That's not a rich person, that's a big trap. Ordinary rich people really can't do it. That is, it is impossible to take a plane like that alone without connections and money. A girl sighed in the air. "I really hope I can become the pendant on that handsome brother." Although he was far away and could not see the person clearly, he still flattered her subconsciously. No matter how ugly you are, if you have enough money, most people will tolerate it. A handsome guy is nothing. It is possible to call daddy in front of someone, as long as conditions permit. The person who appeared was naturally Zhang Chen, who came from Nanchung. He looked at the place he came to for the second time. Well, go for it next time because he will have his own private jet. Suddenly, an energetic voice came from the distance. "Brother Zhang, this way." Zhang Chen looked up and the corners of his mouth raised subconsciously. He walked towards the speaker and waved at the same time. The two met in the middle, and the bodyguards on both sides consciously kept a distance of 3 meters. Zhang Chen looked at the 3 bodyguards in front of him, which were about the same as the 5.7 he brought, and asked curiously, "These are your bodyguards, are you taking them with you this time?" Li Shang smiled bitterly. "Brother Zhang, you think everyone is you. This is the bodyguard I borrowed from my parents. When Country M comes back this time, these 3 will all go back. My parents said it's not time for me to hire a bodyguard yet, and they will make arrangements when the time comes." "Okay." Zhang Chen was not talking about this issue. "What time should we set off?" Li Shang glanced at his watch. "The flight is at 7 o'clock in the evening. Let's get some sleep and adjust the time difference there." It was already 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I had no time to do anything I wanted to do. The 2 parties wandered around the airport and had something to eat. At 7 o'clock, they boarded the first-class cabin and were about to leave for Country M. Zhang Chen slept for 9 people all night, and when he opened his eyes, they have run from one end of the earth to the other, and it is still dark here. Li Shang complained dissatisfiedly. "I hate being jet-lagged like this. The 9 people are full of energy now and obviously can't sleep, but if it becomes daytime here, they will feel sleepy again. Just do as the Romans do and find a place to sleep." Zhang Chen was a little indifferent. After several improvements in his physical fitness, he has been able to overcome this discomfort very well. "Okay," Li Shang muttered, and the 9 of them found the nearest hotel and forced themselves to go back to sleep. The sky was pitch black, and there were no scenery or beauties. New Year's Day. Zhang Chen and his group came out of the hotel. Although they didn't have much rest last night, they spent most of the time playing. But the spirit is still there, and after washing up, I feel much refreshed. Looking up, I saw blue sky, white clouds, and fresh air blowing into my face. Zhang Chen smacked his lips. The environment here is really good. And this is even less rare than the few big cities in Country M. It's not that Zhang Chen thinks all foreign places are delicious. In terms of environmental management, China is far behind these countries that entered the developed world early. These developed countries all have a characteristic. They focus on light industry and build factories abroad for heavy industry, so the gap gradually widens. However, Zhang Chen also believes that China will reach this point sooner or later, and environmental issues have been taken seriously in the country. Brother Li, let's go over now. If I'm not satisfied with the modification, I'll contact Mr. Wang to see another one. It seems that that plane is also on the side of Country M. Li Shang lowered his head and responded, I'm looking for the location, wait a minute. Zhang Chen was idle and looked around, always feeling that something was missing. Li Hu, do you feel that something is missing? Li Hu was stunned for a moment, thought for a while, and asked tentatively, Army? That's right, go get a few cars and come over. If you don't have money, ask me to reimburse you. Zhang Chen clapped his hands and realized what he was doing. Li Shang also found a good place at this time and said helplessly, Brother Zhang, wait a minute, it's very troublesome for us to buy a car here. Don't you want to watch the plane? Let's rent a few cars first. Okay then, forget about the trouble. Zhang Chen thought for a moment and quickly agreed. Although the car is not expensive, the procedures are cumbersome, which means it will waste a lot of his time, and he is not sure whether he will live here. If he really bought it, it would be troublesome to deal with it, and there was no Han Siying here to help him. After Li Hu got the approval, he immediately took a taxi and left to deal with the car. Li Shang also sent a bodyguard there. Both sides, 2 cars, are about the same. Li Shangyu and Zhang Chen explained some issues that need to be paid attention to when watching airplanes. At noon that day, Airbus A380 headquarters. 7 powerful bodyguards guarded the 2 young men in the center. When they came to the door, a local man with blue eyes and a high nose walked out of the Airbus headquarters. From a distance, he laughed and spoke a string of local languages. Li Shang also smiled and hugged the other party gently. The 2 chatted for a while and came to Zhang Chen's side. Li Shang explained, Brother Zhang, I contacted him before. He is the general manager here. He has that authority and his name is Tay. His father and my father are good friends, and we know each other a little bit. After he finished speaking, he introduced Zhang Chen again in a foreign language. Kate smiled and stretched out her hand, and Zhang Chen shook hands with her. Li Shang and their 7 bodyguards were invited to the lounge for a detailed discussion. After both parties formally took their seats, Li Hu entered the lounge and stood behind Zhang Chen to translate for him. Mr. Zhang from China, are you really interested in our Airbus A380? It is a big thing, requires high cost, and lacks sufficient commercial value? Kate asked Zhang Chen with a smile. Of course, the specific words were translated by Li Hu and Li Shang was not involved. I'm very interested, otherwise I wouldn't come all the way here and sit here and talk to you. Zhang Chen smiled and continued. As for the high cost, I have already understood it, I think I can afford it, and I bought it to serve me alone. As long as your aircraft can satisfy me, nothing will be a problem. As for dissatisfaction, there are many problems and he needs to do it himself. Kate smiled and said, Haha, I like direct people. Mr. Zhang is the most direct Chinese person I have ever met. I am also impressed by your magnanimity. Very few people like the modified Airbus. However, I believe that our modification technology can satisfy you, Mr. Zhang. It is useless to say more. Please, Mr. Zhang, please move to the 3rd floor and take a look inside the Airbus A380 we modified. The aircraft should have arrived by now. Kate said, stood up and invited Zhang Chen and Li Shang to go to the main building together. It stands to reason that when a stranger comes to your door and wants to buy a 4 billion airliner, he needs to provide proof of assets. Otherwise, if everyone comes to see it, it will be too cheap, and it will also be a loss to the aircraft. It is huge and burns a lot of engine oil. However, with Li Shang as the intermediary, Kate allowed Zhang Chen, who was here for the first time, to directly enter the interior of the plane to watch without having to issue anything. Zhang Chen nodded slightly and waved to Li Hu, who immediately followed. 290. The four people took the elevator and went up. After reaching the third floor, they walked some distance and went around from the front to the back. There is actually a boarding gate here, and a modified Airbus A380 is parked outside, already posing. That huge fuselage can be seen by comparing it with the surrounding aircraft. At the boarding gate, there was a blonde stewardess waiting. Kate stretched out her hand. "Mr. Zhang, there are rules in China. Guests go first." Zhang Chen was not polite when he saw this and walked forward first, followed closely by the blonde stewardess. She actually spoke fluent Chinese. "Mr. Zhang, I know the information about this aircraft very well, don't mind if I share the information with you. There are huge changes before and after the modification. It is difficult to notice some small details without mentioning them." Zhang Chen glanced at the approaching body and did not push away. "Then please tell me, although I probably still can't remember it." The beautiful flight attendant continued. "It's okay, Mr. Zhang, if you buy it, I will follow you to China to explain it. It will take 3 months for your subordinates to become familiar with the performance of this aircraft. My name is Kasha. Mr. Zhang can ask any questions at any time." Still in the corridor at this time, Zhang Chen crossed the cabin and asked casually, "What's the problem?" Kaisa followed closely. Of course. As soon as Zhang Chen stepped in, he saw all kinds of colorful buttons and lights with unknown meanings. 4 or 5 levers, some storage places, and 2 leather seats made him realize that this was the cab, which should be seen from the front all the way to the back. It's a pity that he doesn't like these things very much. As long as the aircraft does not lose its control when flying, it will be fine. This place is destined to be for his future subordinates, and even non-professionals cannot understand it. After Kasha came in and pointed to the button in front of the main driver to introduce, Zhang Chen waved his hand wordlessly. "Miss Kasha, I don't know how to fly a plane. You don't need to tell me this. It's useless if I know it. Do you plan to let me buy this plane back and then fly it myself? If you are interested, I can hire you to be my captain, but you have to prove your skills." Kasha's face turned slightly red when she heard this, and she said sarcastically, "I'm sorry, I didn't think it through. I can't fly a plane either. What do you think of me being a stewardess?" Li Shang, Kate and Li Hu, who followed behind, wanted to laugh but couldn't when they heard this. Kate held back her smile and looked at Zhang Chen in front of her strangely. Who is that Mr. Zhang? After just a few words of conversation, his men were interested in joining him. Zhang Chen also didn't expect that Kasha and her boss would dare to say such things. Only then did he look at Kasha seriously. With wavy blonde hair, blue eyes, and a unique Western face, she is full of exotic beauty. As far as the figure is concerned, according to Chinese standards, it is as long as it should be and not as long as it should be, and the skin is white. Feeling Zhang Chen's gaze, Kasha straightened up and took out her own money. "The man in front of you is the big boss who wants to buy this aircraft. If you are attracted by him, your income and life will change in the future." The two were about to stage a beauty pageant here, when Li Shang came up from behind. "Brother Zhang, you are looking at the plane now. Image, this woman can be arranged to go to the back." Zhang Chen rolled his eyes, a little helpless. It was obvious that the other party came up first, so he just said a few words. Why does he seem to be his responsibility in the eyes of others? Your bias is too obvious. Then Kasha, please go on to introduce us to the performance of this aircraft. Kasha also heard what Li Shang said and smiled softly. "Okay, Mr. Zhang, according to a normal plane, the front is the first-class cabin, but ours is different. When the front part was remodeled, considering the differences of the customers, no modifications were made and the space was left blank. You can modify it according to your own wishes. There is enough space. There is an internal swimming pool in front and many leisure facilities. They are all built to the highest standards without any sloppiness. The aircraft has not been sold yet, and the swimming pool is still dry and can be filled with water at any time." I have to say that it was very appropriate for Kate to ask Kasha to introduce her. Speaking of this in Chinese, even Li Shang felt moved in his heart. It was his strength that limited his behavior. Zhang Chen was quite satisfied with these places, but he didn't say it out loud. At least he took a look at them and made an evaluation. The Airbus A380 is very large. Kasha introduced the whole process without even taking a sip of water. It is explained from various places, so there is no need to explain the entertainment facilities. Minutes later, Zhang Chen walked out of the cabin, feeling very satisfied. Every aspect of this aircraft impressed him. The equipment was also top-notch, but it was biased toward Western aesthetics. He turned around and asked, "Li Hu, tell me what you think of this aircraft. It doesn't matter if you say whatever you want. You can also fly this kind of civilian aircraft, right?" Li Hu nodded, then shook his head and said, "Boss, I can fly civilian aircraft, but such a huge aircraft is still a bit risky. However, all the interior decorations are very good, but it would be better to replace them with the ones we have." After Zhang Chen heard this, he didn't say anything and walked towards the elevator. The next step is to take a ride and observe the appearance of the car, and go around in a circle. At this time, Kasha suddenly asked, "Mr. Zhang, after watching this 40 minutes, what is your rating on this interior modification? If there are 10 points, how many do you want to hit?" Zhang Chen replied casually, "It looks like a score of 70 to 80. I don't really like it, unless it's really good." After finishing speaking, the 5 people fell silent immediately, and no one stirred up the topic. Li Shang mainly accompanied Zhang Chen. While Zhang Chen and Kasha's chat was not understood by Kat, the boss didn't speak, and Li Hu couldn't speak. In this way, Zhang Chen went from entering to visiting, and finally sat back in the lounge. It took nearly 2 hours in total. When Li Shang went back, he asked quietly, "Brother Zhang, what do you think? Do you want to place an order directly? Now, I guess if you hook your little finger, the foreign girl behind you will go home with you." Zhang Chen pouted, "Come home with me. I can't accommodate her at home, so I'll take her on the plane." This sentence sent out a lot of signals. Kasha opened her blue eyes wide and actually showed a pitiful emotion. It makes people have the urge to step forward and care for them. However, Zhang Chen just glanced at her, not looking at her. Instead, he motioned to Li Hu to translate for Kate. "Mr. Kate, the only thing that catches my eye is the swimming pool. Other internal facilities are very average in my opinion. If I buy it back, I will still have to make extensive modifications. In this case, I might as well buy a new Airbus and modify it from scratch. I don't think that would cost 500 million. When Kate heard this, she, Wang Nuo, was immediately shocked. Mr. Zhang from China must have too high a vision. He hesitated in his mind. There was another possibility. The other party thought the price was high and was trying to lower the price. Suddenly, Zhang Chen took out his mobile phone, translated the chat history between him and Wang Kongking, and showed it to Kate. The contact person Wang Kongking mentioned above was also the person who bought the Airbus A380. Kate rolled her eyes and made a decision. "Mr. Zhang, since you still need to remodel it yourself later, if you really want to buy it, I will give you a sincere discount." Li Hu said directly. "What is the specific number? Let me show your sincerity first." He said this himself. Zhang Chen only gave him a look, and if he cooperated with his red face and white face, it would have good results. Kate's expression froze. Didn't China value subtlety? He was actually so direct, but it was his subordinate who asked if he wanted Ma Zhou to go to the hospital. Kate wanted to be vague, and finally give a specific value when it came to settlement. Li Shang coughed softly at this time and reminded, "Kate, tell me what discounts you have. In addition to being my friend, Zhang Chen is also on good terms with the son of King Jianlin of China. Just now are their chat records. If it really doesn't work, don't force it. At least there is a new Airbus A380 over there." Although he has a good relationship with the foreigner in front of him, he doesn't know what to choose at the critical moment. This is a good relationship formed by a combination of interests. If the interests are not harmonious, it is difficult to say. As for Zhang Chen, apart from his thick thighs, he is also a local and has very good relations with him, so he naturally has to maintain it. Kate's throat twitched twice and she said, "Since Mr. Zhang just said 500 million, and it needs to be remodeled, then it will be 500 million. But I also have a request, that is, the things Mr. Zhang doesn't need should be removed and given to us." "No problem." Zhang Chen waved his hand and agreed directly. He really had that idea just now, and now he is even more sure that the interiors designed by others are still not as comfortable as the 710 designed by himself. The two parties signed the contract immediately, but Zhang Chen first gave a deposit of 1 billion. The rest will be called to the other party after the disassembly is completed and he drives back to China. He is absolutely sure that everything is fine. Naturally, Zhang Chen would not watch the disassembly of the aircraft in person, but would tell Kate's people what he was dissatisfied with. If you really want to tear down the interior, it is clearly written in the contract. At worst, you will lose money, and at worst, you will return the goods. It is impossible for a company as big as the other party to deny it. Reputation is the foundation of development. Half an hour later, Zhang Chen, Li Shang and Li Hu left here, and Kate and Kasia saw them off. On the way, Kate reminded Mr. Zhang, after the interior is disassembled, you will send someone to check it to avoid any bad misunderstandings. That physically strong friend, I think he is very suitable for this kind of job. He is great. Are you worried that I'm cheating and secretly damaging the acrylic? Zhang Chen rolled his eyes, nodded slightly and said, okay, I will arrange it. The 5 people walked to the door, and Kasia suddenly winked. Mr. Zhang, you bought that plane. I will also follow the plane and tell you the parameters for 3 months. I hope to have more opportunities to interact with Mr. Zhang. You can't accommodate me in your family, so recruit me as soon as possible. I don't have a boyfriend yet. Zhang Chen waved his hand and asked Li Hu to drive, and the 3 of them left immediately. The remaining bodyguards naturally followed closely. Kate watched them disappear from sight in the car, turned around, and asked seriously, Kasia, do you really want to resign? Just to follow Mr. Zhang just now, you have to know how good the welfare benefits here are. Kasia met her boss's gaze without flinching. Yes, if Mr. Zhang needs me, I will go. He doesn't need me, and I hope something wonderful can happen with him. After Kat heard this, she remained silent for a long time and left without saying a word. In the car, Li Shang smiled like an old fox, his eyes narrowed to a slit. Brother Zhang, you still said that you don't have any secrets on how to pick up girls. You should honestly admit it now. Brother, I've been begging you for so long, but you still refuse to reveal a word. Isn't this the first time we meet this person named Kasia today? Listen to what was said later. Is that what people said? I just pounced on him. When we were in Magic City, Zhao Linger was like this too. He was seduced after just a few words of conversation. In Nanchung, Li Shang's voice got louder and louder as he spoke, and he had to stop when he couldn't take his last breath. Zhang Chen picked his ears and said helplessly, oh, you don't believe me when I tell the truth. You have to make me tell lies. Why bother? Li Shang's eyes lit up. Brother Zhang, CCDE. You are finally willing to tell the truth. I believe you when you say it. I said there are no secrets to picking up girls, it's all about personal charm plus financial charm. Li Shang. His little eyes were full of disbelief, and he asked unwillingly, then if your money and personal charm disappear, there won't be so many girls liking you. That's a false proposition. Zhang Chen continued. Even if the news is true, I still have personality charm. The 2 of them were laughing and discussing in the back row, and not long after, they arrived in front of a 5-star luxury hotel. Zhang Chen finally made up some excuses, but Li Shang actually took that trick, which surprised him. After getting off the Rolls-Royce, both of them returned to normal, still looking like the rich young man. It's already noon. All bodyguards are invited to the hotel here to have Western food. Zhang Chen and Li Shang stayed together. He had something to say. You have a lot of connections here. Do you know a team that is professional in inspecting interiors? Li Shang's expression changed. You want to test the Airbus A380. I only know the surface of Kate, but she shouldn't cause trouble. After all, if something happens, his small body won't be able to handle it. I know people who do. Zhang Chen rolled his eyes. You already said that you only know the surface. It's always right to be careful. Invite people over when the time comes. When 9 people came to Country M, the only thing they wanted to do was buy a plane. The interior was still being dismantled over there, and Zhang Chen had nothing to do, traveling with Li Shang and a group of bodyguards. I originally wanted to come here to chat with Wang Kongking and the others, but unfortunately due to the time difference, we ended up leaving messages for each other. 10 days is enough space. They have seen Los Angeles at 4 in the morning, have been under the Statue of Liberty, and have been to the suburbs to watch winemaking. From one side of the world to the other, they were having a blast. If Li Shang and Kate hadn't been in contact via mobile phone, we wouldn't know where the interior had been disassembled. After Zhang Chen found out, he immediately started complaining. The people in Country M are really slow. If it's China, I guarantee the results will be out within 5 days. It would be even worse if something was wrong with the interior. We haven't visited many places, so it's a worthwhile trip, Li Shang responded with a smile. While sitting in the car, he mobilized his contacts to find people and asked a professional inspection team to inspect the place where the Airbus A380 was sold. When the 9 people arrived at the place where they met Kate, they happened to see 3 cars blocked outside. Li Shang recognized at a glance that this was the testing team he had hired. The employer and client came forward and the matter was quickly resolved. Zhang Chen also saw what it means to be a real professional in order to inspect the interior of an aircraft. Their instruments were directly installed on 3 large trucks, and there was a broken-down truck behind them. There are more items on the truck. Kate's expression changed immediately when she saw this scene. 4 cars filled with instruments slowly drove into the company with Kate's ugly expression on her face. Behind, there are about 10 people on the road. With so many instruments and few people, it is impossible to operate them. Zhang Chen looked at the objects in the car and felt confused. Li Shang, these people you found are not bad. How long will the inspection take? That's natural. It cost nearly 1 million to invite these people to come. The specific time is not sure. After all, the area of the Airbus A380 is very large. Li Shang explained somewhat complacently. This nearly 1 million is not Chinese currency, but the local currency here. When converted into Chinese currency, it must be around 6 million. Not long after, the head of the inspection team arrived with Kate. Kate glanced at the head of the inspection team with an unfavorable expression, and then put on a smiling face when she faced Zhang Chen. Mr. Zhang, if you ask these people to come over for inspection, it will only waste your precious time. Our company has sufficient credibility. If you ask these people to leave now, you can save a lot of money. Their price should be quite high. There is absolutely no problem in disassembling the interior. Zhang Chen shook his head. It's okay, I've been playing these past few days anyway, it doesn't matter how long it takes, all I spend is a small amount of money. Mr. Kate, you don't have to say it, didn't you want me to check it in the first place? That's okay, let me feel more at ease. Seeing Zhang Chen's tone and expression, he was obviously not very happy, so Kate opened her mouth and closed it again. Silently retreated to the back, called Kasha and transferred her over. The person in charge of the inspection team is also a local. His hair is half white, his face is full of wrinkles, and he is almost 50 years old. He glanced at Kate, came to Zhang Chen and Li Shang, took off the hat on his head, put one hand in front of him, and bent slightly. Hello, gentlemen, I am John De, the person in charge of this inspection team. Is there anything you need to pay special attention to when inspecting the interior of an aircraft? John De spoke half-familiar Chinese language, which was a bit difficult to pronounce, but Zhang Chen and Li Shang could still understand it. Li Shang spread his hands. Unfortunately, although you were hired by me, I still have to ask him how to inspect the aircraft. Zhang Chen frowned slightly. Isn't it treated as a whole? The 3 of them talked nonchalantly for about 10 minutes, all using Chinese language. Kate stood awkwardly, unable to understand a word he said, until Kasha arrived and translated for him. Mr. Zhang, there will be a strict inspection as a whole, but some parts are important and some are not, so we need to understand them in depth. Old John didn't seem to notice his dissatisfaction with his employer, and stopped talking after explaining. Zhang Chen raised his head and asked, then pay special attention to the whole thing. How long will it take for you to check? Old John was stunned for a while. Sir, did I hear you correctly? Do you want to be treated as a whole? Then the cost will be doubled and the time will be extended by 7 days. Have you thought about it? That's it, I will arrange for someone to check with you. Money is not an issue. Zhang Chen made a decision directly, and then looked at Li Hu. You follow Mr. John De around for testing. Kate's eyes widened, her breathing became heavy, and her mood was a little unstable. Because he stood behind him, only Kasha could see this detail, and he quickly adjusted it. Zhang Chen announced his decision and left 2 more people for Li Hu. The venue was too big and a large number of people were needed to spread it out. He, Li Shang and several other bodyguards started to play. There is nothing that cannot be solved in 1 day of playing. If there is anything, it can be solved in 2 days of playing. Zhang Chen and Li Shang left with their men, while Li Hu and 2 other bodyguards met John De. Hello, my name is John De. John De introduced himself again. Li Hu forced a smile. My name is Li Hu. When will we start testing? We have been here long enough. John De looked at Kate. It depends on Mr. Kate. Where is the Airbus A380 parked? Take us there. What he said later was in local dialect. Except for Li Hu, the other two bodyguards frowned. He spoke very quickly and half understood what he was saying. When Kate saw this, her heart moved, and she immediately smiled and said, "If you want to go see it, you can go there now. You are welcome to check at any time. John, I have heard your name. Can I treat you to a meal tonight?" Li Hu glanced sideways at Kate but said nothing, but became wary in his heart. 3 days passed in a flash, and John's inspection team inspected the interior and exterior of the Airbus A380 in an orderly manner. At this time, almost half of the inspection has been completed, and the interior is also in progress. Kate has been inviting John to dinner these days and has been building relationships and talking about relationships. From time to time, I want to give John Desai money and arrange for some beautiful women to go up and talk. Li Hu observed silently and reported to Zhang Chen on time every day. Kate's abnormality was the most important. "Brother Zhang, there are still 4 days until the inspection is completed. Aren't you tired of playing with it already? Do you want to call that Kasha to accompany you?" Inside the Rolls-Royce, Li Shang interrupted with a smile. Zhang Chen came back from his thoughts and said helplessly, "Don't keep thinking about women. When have you ever seen me take the initiative? They came up on their own, and now there is something wrong with Kate. Between the lines, I want John to lower the testing requirements." With that said, Zhang Chen showed Li Shang the news reported by Li Hu. "You know, this is a private aviation aircraft, and it is not a trivial matter if something goes wrong. He still values his own life very much." Li Shang, who was invisibly hit, looked at the messages on his phone and frowned slightly. "Brother Zhang, what are you going to do? Are you going back now? You can't say anything based on this alone. Without actual evidence, the other party will definitely not admit it." Li Shang was also very angry at this time. He was still thinking about waiting for the aircraft to be modified and he would be the first passenger on it. What if there was something wrong with the quality? Zhang Chen came here to see the private jet, and he introduced him, which made him feel even worse. "Go back directly. How can there be no evidence?" Zhang Chen smiled. "If they are so afraid of inspection, then the private plane must not pass the inspection somewhere." When the driver heard this, he communicated with the drivers of the 2 cars escorting him at the front and rear. The 3 cars turned and headed towards where Li Hu and the others were. On the 4th day, when Kate wanted to invite John to dinner again, suddenly, I received a report from the guard that the bosses who had gone out before had driven back. "Why are you back? Don't they always care? I didn't notify them before the interior was dismantled, so they didn't even know." Kate felt a little uneasy, but she still took Kasha with her and went to greet her as soon as possible. Li Hu and John De also put down what they were doing and hurriedly followed him out. Squeak, the brakes sounded, and 3 Rolls-Royces stopped on the roadside. Zhang Chen and Li Shang got out of the car under the protection of bodyguards. Before the 2 of them spoke, 4 people came running from a distance, and Kate came with Kasha. Li Hu and John De were both trotting over, their breaths rising and falling. Kate gasped and said, "Mr. Zhang, this test is still going on. It will take 3 days. You have to wait. There are currently no problems, and the overall situation will be fine. If you don't believe me, just ask Mr. Zhang." Zhang Chen raised his eyelids slightly, but he ignored it and looked at Li Hu aside. John thought he was looking at him, so he hesitated for a while and said, "Mr. Zhang, there is no problem at the moment, and we will still check it later." However, his 147 did not guarantee that there would be no problems in the future. He only talked about the present. Zhang Chen noticed this detail and immediately said, "We will come back and see what you should do or not. Mr. Kate, don't be so nervous, even sweating." He had a smile on his face and was very kind. Seeing this, Kate quickly said, it's okay, Mr. Zhang, you are our distinguished guest. It would be a mistake not to go out to greet you." The 2 chatted for a while, and before Casa left, she gave Zhang Chen another wink. The closer the time gets, the more unrestrained her performance becomes. Zhang Chen gave Li Shang a look and motioned him to talk to John De. Although he was inspecting his private jet, his employer was Li Shang, and there was a layer of relationship between them. Li Shang understood and stepped forward to talk to John De with a smile. Both of them used native dialects. Zhang Chen didn't understand, so he called Li Hu and asked about the 3 days. "Boss, I have been following that old man these past few days. He is very serious about his work, but after what happened before, I don't know how much he has collected. He may let things go in the future, and the data will not be accurate. This is a simultaneous detection on 3 sides. Our own people are watching from the other 2 directions. Why don't you let me go?" "You?" Zhang Chen looked at Li Hu with some confusion. "Do you know how to use those testing machines?" His head hurt when he looked at the 3 large vehicles of equipment and the truck. Speaking of this, Li Hu smiled shyly. "Well, I've been chatting with that old man these past few days and learned a lot from him. Following his original steps, there was no problem with the test, but only on the old man's side." Zhang Chen's eyes lit up. In this case, he only needed to borrow the other party's machine. "No matter what, my people are still worthy of trust, except for the Chinese people here, they're all foreigners. In addition, you can also ask the bodyguards on both sides, maybe there will be good news." At this moment, Li Shang and Zhang De were having a similar conversation over there, and the 2 of them came over together. "Brother Zhang, what should we do now? There seems to be something really wrong with the Airbus A380. Kate has been testing Zhang De for several days. It's just a matter of fact, it's really disgusting to overlook some minor problems during the inspection." Zhang Chen looked at Zhang De and was a little surprised. He said everything so readily. Li Shang smiled and explained. "The relationship between Zhang De and my family is unusual. Even if we don't come, he will tell the result honestly." Zhang Chen nodded and did not ask what the relationship was. "That's a short answer. Let's continue with the test. We'll both be watching over here, but we need to replace Li Hu." The 2 of them were not going out for fun, they were just staying here waiting for the test results. Zhang Chen finally asked Li Hu to go up for testing, with Zhang De watching from the side. In Kate's office, he looked at Li Shang and others from a distance through the glass of the floor-to-ceiling windows. The more he looked, the more he frowned, and finally he started walking back and forth anxiously. When he learned that Zhang Chen had replaced Zhang De and asked his men to step forward to check, he became more and more helpless. "Kasha, come to my office." After hanging up the phone, Kate tapped the table with one hand, constantly weighing whether she should confess or not. If the other party cancels the order, he will suffer a big loss this time. It will be a thankless task. But not to mention, the consequences of being discovered would be even more serious, as it was clearly written in the contract. Zhang Chen doesn't have much energy here, he only has abundant funds, but Li Shangyu, the combination of the 2 can produce a chemical reaction. Before Kate could figure it out, the office door opened. Kasha walked in with an unhappy look on her face. "What do you want from me?" "Don't worry, if Mr. Zhang doesn't accept me this time, I will also leave the company." "You." Kate opened her mouth and waved her hand. "Close the door. Let me tell you something. Whether it will be accepted by Mr. Zhang depends on your luck. If he doesn't even buy the plane, where will you get the chance?" Kasha closed the office door dubiously. 15 minutes later, Kate spread her hands and was very helpless. That matter was handled very badly, but there is nothing we can do about it. If Mr. Zhang finds out, he probably won't buy it, but he will take the initiative to say that there is still a chance and check it out before he can. Kasha looked straight at the past. "Is this also the reason why you frequently approach Zhang De?" "Yes, that's a compromise. I understand," Kasha replied, turned and left. Kate put her chin on her hand and cursed angrily. "Damn it, it's all the fault of those bastards who dismantled the interior, we will kill them sooner or later." At the same time, Zhang Chen and Li Shang once again visited the seat trim of the Airbus A380. The inside has been greatly changed, but the outline of before can still be seen. "Brother Zhang, do you have any modification plans now? Do you want to pour wine into the swimming pool and learn from the King of China, the wine pool and the meat forest? It can also be done by injecting milk. Milk bath is said to keep the skin white and tender." Zhang Chen rolled his eyes and said angrily, "Then do you want me to pour chili oil into it, and you can swim in it? There's also an electric heating system here, which can be heated underneath, which is really fun for you." Li Shang smiled. 1.1. "Well, forget it, I still want this but it's too spicy and it's not good." Suddenly, Zhang De trotted over. "Mr. Zhang, there is a beautiful woman named Kasha outside looking for you," but she was stopped by the bodyguard. Zhang Chen raised his eyebrows and turned around to look. Sure enough, he, Zhang, was the one with the most face. When visiting and appreciating the interior of the aircraft, people came to visit. It's not like some people who don't get what they ask for. Li Shang's expression froze when he heard this, and that look in his eyes caused him huge critical damage. Is that contempt? Definitely contempt. Seeing this, Zhang Chen felt much better and walked out happily. However, when he saw Kasha and heard the first words, his mood suddenly became not so good. There was something wrong with this Airbus A380. Listening to these words, Zhang Chen's originally cheerful smile gradually turned gloomy. He felt that there was something wrong, so he asked Li Hu to go up and check. Now that the problem was not found, he came to confess. It is very likely that the problem will appear immediately, or it will be checked out immediately and you have to come. In an instant, many thoughts flashed through Zhang Chen's mind, and he looked at Kasha expressionlessly. You must have your own purpose for coming here, right? Kasha has thought about many scenarios in which Mr. Zhang would curse and directly demand a refund, or he would sneer viciously and ask for multiple compensation, or at worst, he would even say a few words. This situation now puts heavy pressure on her. Kasha thought for a while, then bowed sincerely, and then apologized. Mr. Zhang, I am very sorry for concealing this matter. I only got the news not long ago. Originally, there was number 22 problem with this aircraft, but when it was disassembled, excessive force was used, and some places were broken, leaving residues. The most important thing is that there are cracks in the rear section of the aircraft. Now check the back section immediately, so admit it in advance, Zhang Chen thought to himself. He already had the intention of giving up, which was a bit evil in nature. Zhang Chen said calmly. Then what are you going to do next? What solutions are there? Kasha smiled sweetly. This is my boss Kate's business. What I came here to ask is, if Mr. Zhang doesn't buy an airliner here, can he take me with him? Li Shang, who just came out, was hit hard again and didn't know what to say. I was very upset. Why did I come out and hear this news, but not buy an airplane here? Li Shang remembered this key issue and quickly adjusted his state. Brother Zhang, what is she talking about? After paying the deposit, why don't you buy an airliner here? Zhang Chen ignored it, but opened his workplace speech and threw it over. Character. Kasha gender. Female suitable occupation. Stewardess. Career potential. 5 stars, 5 stars or full stars. Evaluation. Amazing beauty, extraordinary communication skills, potential has been fully developed and can be recruited. A stewardess who has fully developed her potential. The service is absolutely great, very well, I can take you with me, but you must remember to find me after this matter is resolved. Zhang Chen made a decision immediately after reading the other party's information. Recruiting a foreign girl to come back and adjust it seems to be a good choice. Kasha was overjoyed and said quickly, Okay, thank you Mr. Zhang, I will go back now and inform you of any news in advance. After saying that, Zhang Chen ran away in a hurry, fearing that Zhang Chen would regret it. Li Shang muttered to himself, and when others ran away, he asked the question again. Zhang Chen explained casually. There is something wrong with this plane. It will be detected later. She came to inform in advance, Kate, haha. There are many people who want to deceive him, but in the end almost no one succeeds. If he could succeed, it was because he deliberately let the water pass, and Kate was obviously not one of them. Li Shang narrowed his eyes and walked towards John De silently. Not long after, the machine found out the problem Kasha mentioned, and there were obvious signs of repair on it. If you are careless, you can cover up the past. When you return to China, it will be difficult to explain the problem clearly. After all, it is an order of 4 billion, so be shameless, it is hard to say what the result will be. Half an hour later, it was still the same hall where the last discussion was held, and there was an additional person participating in the conversation, John De. It was not as cheerful as last time and the atmosphere was not very good. Li Shang stared at Kate. This is not a trick to Zhang Chen, this is a trick to him. Fortunately, he introduced people here. Jonder and Kasha stood at the back, looking at their toes. Finally, Zhang Chen said, There's nothing to say. Everything will follow the rules. What do you think, Mr. Kate? According to the rules, 150% of the contract deposit will be compensated. That is to say, 1.5 billion will be given to Zhang Chen, and the dismantled parts and property damage will belong to Kate and the others. Kate's expression changed again, and cold sweat broke out on her forehead. "This, Mr. Zhang, can we discuss this? I didn't think about it that much before. I wasn't smart enough, so I gave it a chance." Li Shang was the first to answer. "If you don't have a chance, you should have done what you did earlier. If you want to get through, it's a shame that I won't introduce you to the business. If I don't promote it to you when I go back, it will be considered good. My Li family is not a vegetarian. You should pay the price directly." If Zhang Chen and Li Shang had reported the problem as soon as possible, they wouldn't be so angry. But instead of telling them, they still cover it up, which obviously makes them pay for other people's mistakes, and also puts their lives at risk. Zhang Chen did not participate in the conversation between the two, but took out his mobile phone and left a message for Wang Kongking. He was going to another place to see the Airbus A380. Although the journey here was not very pleasant, he still made 500 million. Use the 500 million here to purchase and modify that new Airbus A380. Think about it, it's not bad. Everything must be done from beginning to end. If you say you want to buy it, then you must buy it. Kate's voice came at this time. "Mr. Zhang, I'm sorry about this incident, but the current capital turnover is limited. Can we make 860 accommodation? It will take 7 days to raise funds, do you think?" When Li Yang translated for Zhang Chen, he didn't say anything, but looked at Li Shang. Li Shang nodded slightly. "Brother Zhang, leave this matter to me. After a long trip abroad, I encountered something like this. If I had known about it, I wouldn't have recommended it to you. Kate, please transfer all of these 1.5 billion to you within 3 days. If there are more, I won't tell you what to do." After saying that, he pulled Zhang Chen out of the lounge, followed by Li Hu and John De. After leaving the lounge, Li Shang calmed down and immediately apologized to Zhang Chen for what he did. "Brother Zhang, if you hadn't asked for a comprehensive test, you would have let that kid get through." Zhang Chen waved his hand. "Isn't that okay? Are you still making 500 million? I have contacted Mr. Wang. As for Kate, I can't let it go." As he spoke, a cold light flashed in his eyes, and a plan emerged in his mind. Li Shang nodded heavily. "This is natural. Has Mr. Wang replied to you?" "Not yet, maybe he will reply in the early morning." The two of them talked as they walked outside. As for the half of John De's salary, Li Shang brought his own bodyguards to hand it over. In the lounge, Kate clenched her fists, with annoyance, regret, dissatisfaction, resentment and other emotions in her eyes. Kasha looked around and quietly slipped out, leaving Kate alone. Kasha walked a long way away and heard an angry roar coming from behind. In addition to cursing Satan, there are also some names mixed in, which I have never heard of before. The sound of smashing glasses could also be heard faintly, and ordinary staff did not dare to approach the lounge. I actually work under that idiot, with no sense of self-restraint or magnanimity. Unlike Mr. Zhang, he is simply perfect. As Kasha thought about it, her walking steps became thinner and her strides were extremely small. My face turned red and I tried hard to endure it, but I didn't know when it got wet down there. Others' troubles are never their own troubles. Zhang Chen and Li Shang lived a very comfortable life. During this period, Wang Kongking left a message to Zhang Chen and the two of them. The new Airbus A380 was parked at the large airport in San Francisco. With Li Shang and Wang Kongking as guarantors, they can go and watch directly. If there are sufficient funds and both parties verify that there are no problems, the delivery can be made on the spot and the contract can be signed. On the third day, Li Shang and Zhang Chen took 9 bodyguards and found Kate at once. It was Li Shang who came forward to negotiate. He had a deep friendship with the other party before, but when he fell out, his hatred was doubled. "I regard you as a friend, but you want to push me into a pit of fire. Kate, if we don't have 1.5 billion in funds, we can only ask your boss to provide it, or have you beheaded. It's not available now. I contacted my family immediately and the results will be available within 5 minutes." Li Shang had a cold face and was extremely forceful, not in the mood for small talk at all. Zhang Chen crossed his arms and looked at the situation coldly. Kate opened her mouth several times, and finally took out 2 bank cards from her desk. One of them was still a little warm, so it was obviously kept by the other party and had just been taken out not long ago. "Li, one of the cards contains Mr. Yang's deposit of 1 billion, and the second one is mine, with 500 million in it. Is the compensation enough? I will never try to do the stupid thing yesterday again in the future." Kate spoke very seriously, with the right expression on her face, trying to ease the tense relationship, just when Li Shang's expression relaxed. Zhang Chen sneered. This compensation is not enough. What you did yesterday was not stupid, it was a planned murder. It's still a bloodless murder, anyone with a discerning eye can see it. Being interrupted like this, Li Shang subconsciously thought along what he said, and his eyes became cold again. Everything he said makes sense, but in the end he still lacked experience and almost got fooled again. Kate couldn't understand what Zhang Chen said, but she could tell by looking at his expression that everything he said was nonsense and made the other party even more hostile to him. He secretly resented that Mr. Zhang was so difficult to deal with. Zhang Chen did not accept the 2 bank cards, but waved his hand in disgust and asked Li Hu to take it. He took Li Shang away and headed to the next location, San Francisco. 9 people and 3 Rolls-Royces set off again. The car is rented and can be driven around as much as you like. As long as it is not seriously damaged on the surface, the interior is not concerned at all. Even if the damage is serious, it will only cost you some money. If the other party wants to make friends, they may directly waive these fees. Zhang Chen sat in the back row, boredly watching the scenery pass by outside. During the 10 days or so here, he visited most of the areas, and looking back now, he still feels similar. At this moment, Zhang Chen's cell phone dinged, and someone sent a message. He took it out and saw that it was Kasia, a foreign girl. When he and Li Shang left before, Kasia kept pestering him and finally asked for his contact information. "Brother Zhang, where are you going on this trip? How long will it take? If I want to find you, where should I go? Huasha is a big place, please give me a name. Since you have taken me away, I will rely on you." Seeing the news, Zhang Chen smiled softly. Like everyone else, Kasia called him Brother Zhang. He mainly focused on the other party's 5-star evaluation of the stewardess and the potential he had to develop it. Zhang Chen replied casually, "If you want to take the initiative to find me, just go to the Magic City and wait, I will make a plan here first." After buying a private aviation aircraft, there are a lot of things waiting to be dealt with. To fly back to China, you can borrow the route here, but it's hard to know where it will stop until you arrive. What Zhang Chen wants is for the plane to fly directly to Nanchung and park at his doorstep. After that, we have to recruit the captain, flight attendant, and other service personnel, and the number cannot be small. After all, there were originally 525 seats, so the place was big enough. Send people to apply for civil routes, build your own airports, landing sites, maintenance personnel, etc. Zhang Chen interacted with Kasia, while Li Shang sat aside and felt very uncomfortable watching. Finally, he took out his cell phone and prepared to chat, but unfortunately no one responded. It was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning in China. Unless someone stayed up late surfing the internet, no one had time to pay attention to him. In Country M, all the people he knew were men and old men, so they were not suitable. Li Shang put away his phone. "Brother Zhang, what are you talking about so happily?" Zhang Chen waved his hand and said, "It's nothing, it's a small matter between men and women. When San Francisco calls me, this Kasia is very interesting." Li Shang retracted his arm angrily and turned to look at the scenery. The speed of the 3 Rolls-Royces was still very fast. When the sun set, the shadow of the city in the distance could already be seen. San Francisco, arriving soon. That night, Zhang Chen and 9 others checked into a 5-star hotel and went to watch the plane the next day. Nothing went wrong this time, because it was a new aircraft, and the overall inspection showed no problems in the past. Zhang Chen negotiated with the other party, signed the contract, and immediately made the transaction, giving the other party 3.1 billion. Because the Airbus A380 is too large, it is very inconvenient to park in Nanchung, and it will also affect the operation of other aircraft. After negotiation, it was flown to Modu International Airport. The airlines here in San Francisco cooperate with the Magic City International Airport, which is great, and have routes. Zhang Chen and Li Shang took 7 bodyguards with them and boarded the Airbus A380 to fly to China. It's just that there are only crew members on the plane to ensure the normal flight, and there is a shortage of stewardesses. This made Li Shang feel quite resentful. At the same time, Kasia, a 5-star flight attendant, also took a plane to the magical capital of China. Across the 2 ends of the earth, Zhang Chen traveled back and forth between the 2 places in more than 10 days. They went back this time on an impromptu basis. No one was notified and they didn't know that the 9 people were coming back. The plane flew from day to night, and when it arrived in China, it was still daytime due to the time difference. It stopped at the Magic City International Airport, but Zhang Chen and the other 9 people still slept on the plane for half an hour before Shi Shiren got off the plane. This plane is private. Who dares to rush me while I'm sleeping? When Zhang Chen drove Ha Qi out of the cabin door, many people rushed up with things in their hands. Zhang Chen was immediately shocked. After all, he was a normal person surrounded by dozens of people. These dozens of people are rushing forward with weapons in their hands. Who is not afraid? Originally, Li Hu was afraid of flying back to China for the first time because of taboos, so he didn't dare to go in front of the boss and couldn't steal the limelight. Suddenly seeing this scene, his eyes widened and he rushed to Zhang Chen, assuming a fighting stance. The other 6 bodyguards were just a beat slower and went out in the same way. When the 7 people saw clearly who was coming, they relaxed slightly, but still put on a fighting posture. The reporters who were watching were restrained by the momentum of the 7 people and did not dare to step forward or retreat. If it had been anyone else, the microphone would have been stuck in someone else's face. Zhang Chen also saw clearly at this time that they were reporters, and was secretly angry. He didn't remember to invite these reporters. These people came here by themselves, and the interview was as if they were committing murder. Li Shang, who was only 1 step behind Zhang Chen just now, was also shocked and only recovered at this time. Suddenly, a female reporter who was watching asked, "Hello, sir, I am from Tianxing Entertainment. Is this Airbus A380 behind you yours? It is said that this is a new aircraft. Are you its owner? Will it be used for commercial purposes? Sir, what's your name? Was this plane purchased by a joint venture or by you personally? It is said that Airbus A380 requires billions of funds. Is this true?" One of them asked a question, and the other reporters immediately asked questions, not to be outdone, speaking very fast. Zhang Chen and Li Shang's foreheads were bulging, and their emotions were on the verge of breaking out. Suddenly, Zhang Chen said loudly, "Tell me which company you are from. If there is a familiar company, I will answer the question." He then whispered, "Brother Li, write down all these people's companies and go over them carefully." Li Shang's eyes lit up. "Brother Zhang, just leave it to me and make sure no one is left behind." The reporters who were preparing to interview each identified their homes one after another. Some reporters who felt something was wrong did not speak. They didn't dare to talk nonsense. It was written on the microphone. It would be embarrassing to be exposed. Zhang Chen listened with a smile and said to Li Hu in front, "You guys clear the way and stop these reporters, at least 2 meters away. I'm worried they will attack." "No problem, we will do it." The 4 of Li Hu spread out and stood in front of the reporter, CCDG. Li Shang's 3 bodyguards also stepped forward consciously. Some rich second generations don't like to be paid attention to by many people because they will be picked on. It's hard to say that when someone leads everyone to talk about gold, people's words are scary. In the vast China, Wang Kongking, the son of King Jianlin, is the most famous, and other rich second generations are rarely heard of. Watching the 2 main people leaving, 7 tough bodyguards were left behind. All the reporters were dumbfounded. What kind of operation was this? A reporter shouted, "Sir, you haven't answered my question yet. Did you buy this plane or was it a joint venture?" "Yes, we all identify ourselves as family members. You are also a member of the upper class after all. How can you keep your word?" Zhang Chen turned around and waved from a distance. "I'm not familiar with you, so I can't answer you." Li Shang added, "This is called no comment. Let's talk about it next time when we have a chance." Zhang Chen left first, followed by Li Hu and 7 other bodyguards. As for the plane, just leave it where it is. Anyone who dares to move forward or scratch it will make the other party pay a heavy price. The personnel who operated the unit did not go back immediately. They had to wait for Zhang Chen to find someone before they could go back. On the other hand, after-sales service is also provided. Nearly 20 reporters blocked people getting off the Airbus A380, but they got no news. As a last resort, they had no choice but to shoot wildly at the plane. A few people with quick hands took pictures of the backs of Zhang Chen and Li Shang when they were leaving, and the pictures were gone. At 2 o'clock that afternoon, some news appeared. Surprise! Airbus A380 is settled in China, and a mysterious buyer appears at Shanghai International Airport. The buyer of the Airbus A380 worth $3 billion is Business plane? Private plane? No, it's a private plane? Two people joined forces to buy Airbus. Who has the strength? When many news emerged, Zhang Chen and Li Shang were adjusting to the time difference and ignored these things. As for Li Hu and the other bodyguards, they didn't even dare to take a nap after passing through the airport, let alone watch the news. The 9 Zhang Chen people finally arrived at the Peninsula Hotel, opened 9 rooms, and everyone fell asleep. And the news continues to ferment. The reporter tried his best to find the captain driving the Airbus A380 but still couldn't get any useful information. The contract stated that if you are not satisfied within 7 days, you can return the product in full. This captain is not stupid. At the same time, in one of the best villa areas in the Magic City, building 35 Ziyuan, a girl walked happily around the villa with her mobile phone, and finally ran onto the lawn outside. He shouted, Brother Zhang and the others may have come back and bought the plane. We didn't even notify us in advance when we were going to check it out." On the lawn, the young man was doing handstands and wearing training clothes. When he heard this, his eyes lit up, and he wanted to end the handstand but held it back. Zhao Muyan said resentfully, "Linger, you want to lie to your brother again? Look at me like this, don't be naughty." Zhao Linger rolled her eyes. That was before, but this time it's true. The news was out, but those people only took pictures of his back, but the plane recognized him correctly. Airbus A380? Zhao Muyan's eyes lit up and he stood up straight again. Wang Kongqing and Yi Xing accidentally discovered such a piece of news when they were reading the news. The 7 people who gathered together for dinner began to contact each other, but Zhang Chen and Li Shang could not be contacted. It wasn't until night that Zhang Chen and Li Shang greeted the 5 people. The jet lag is not back, but in Country M, it is already daytime. In a small group established by 7 people, Zhao Linger was the most cheerful. "Brother Zhang, where are we meeting? Do you really want to buy an Airbus A380? I want to swim in the air. I contacted you and Li Shang before but there was no response. Where have you been?" Wang Kongqing and Yi Xing are more reserved, but they are also very concerned about when they can swim in the sky. Zhang Chen responded helplessly, "We have to wait for a while." Mr. Tian contacted the top aircraft interior modification engineers at home and abroad. Foreign tuners have skills, but domestic tuners design things that make people feel comfortable. Li Shang bubbled at this time and said, "The order with the swimming pool collapsed." He simply explained what happened there. The 5 people immediately said that they would each find top international designers. Zhang Chen mentioned a few words in the group again, and those reporters couldn't just let it go. "It would be nice to make it more formal, and I have to give him a surprise that I think is a surprise." Wang Kongqing, who is known as the Entertainment Industry Disciplinary Inspection Commission, still knows a little about the ways of these reporters and has the ability to influence them. He immediately said that he would ask his subordinates to come forward and teach the other party a lesson. Zhao Muyan and Yi Xing also spoke out in support, and if they spoke out, they would be carried out. Zhang Chen chatted in the group for a while, then fell silent, and they agreed to get together when the time difference came back. Just after leaving the hotel room, Li Shang, who was in the next room, also happened to come out. "Brother Zhang, how are you resting?" "It's not bad, I'll take a few days to rest." Zhang Chen stretched his body and asked casually, "Where are the people who fly the plane?" Li Shang said with a smile, "Near the Modu International Airport. We don't dare to leave until we have a good grasp of the plane, even if we give them the courage." "Do you need to ask them to come over? Just make a phone call?" Because he understands both Chinese and the language of Country M, he was the one who contacted Li Hu there. Zhang Chen nodded slightly. "Call over here. Regarding private aviation, we only have superficial knowledge of the information. Having them explain it can help us get familiar with it faster." The 2 of them talked and came to the hotel lobby together. Li Hu and the other 7 bodyguards subconsciously stood up and walked to both sides to clear the area. Zhang Chen waved his hand slightly. "No need to do this, just be careful and don't allow others to take pictures." He doesn't want to focus on the whole country. Any small stain on his body will be inexplicably sprayed for a long time. 9 people go out for a circle to let their bodies adapt to the time here. At 2 o'clock, the captain, who was near the Modu International Airport, ran over alone. This is a foreigner about 30 years old, but his face is already full of beard, and the whole person looks like he has gone through many changes. Ron saluted slightly. Hello, Mr. Zhang. My name is Ron, and I am the captain here. You know the main purpose. If you don't understand anything, just ask. Zhang Chen motioned to Li Hu and asked this person, how many people are needed to operate the Airbus A380 to achieve the most comfortable environment? When I find the person inside the plane, I will definitely dismantle it and decorate it with a swimming pool. It's best to make a list for me. There is no need to list the prices. I will default to the best one. Li Hu immediately told his boss what he said and talked with Ron. Zhang Chen glanced at it, then turned to ask Li Shangdao, Brother Li, where do you recruit the best flight attendants and captains in China? Li Shang shook his head helplessly and said, there is no standard at all, and Brother Zhang, this is your private jet. Whether you are a stewardess or a captain, as long as you are satisfied, your standards will be the standards. Or, it's okay if you like the stewardess, they are all handsome guys and beauties. Li Shangna became more and more excited as he talked. It's best to go to aviation schools to recruit stewardesses and stewardesses. Those are all good candidates. As for which one is better, it depends on personal standards, vision and the price paid. Zhang Chen laughed and scolded. Go away. I will send you 10 flight attendants one day to build a helicopter and let you travel to a deserted island. Don't bother me. Li Shang smiled and didn't take it to heart. By the way, Brother Zhang, if you want to recruit a flight attendant, just go to the aviation school in Shanghai. As for the captain, let the headhunting company recruit him. Anyway, there are only 2 captain positions. If you consider them to rest, you can have 4. The conversation between Zhang Chen and Li Hu came to an end. Ron was talking excitedly while turning on his cell phone to show Li Hu, who listened expressionlessly. Finally, Li Hu nodded with satisfaction. That's it for now, you send me a form, and I'll talk to you when the boss confirms it. He immediately turned to report the news to Zhang Chen and asked for all the specific details. A form will be submitted at that time. Okay. Zhang Chen nodded slightly. When I go back to make arrangements, I know the news almost. 2 days passed, and Zhang Chen, Li Shang, and Zhao Muyan had a gathering. After that, it's just waiting. The domestic design team and the foreign design team are still on the way. As for the private jet captain, the recruitment conditions had been informed to the headhunting company, and with the prompting of the red envelope, the other party promised to find the person within 5 days. Today is the 3rd day. Zhang Chen got up at 9 o'clock in the morning and tidied up his appearance. There are still many things waiting for him to deal with in Shanghai, but there are always priorities. Today is the day to set out to recruit flight attendants. Zhang Chen came to the hotel lobby, where Li Shang and Li Hu were already waiting. Li Shang's 3 bodyguards have returned. Brother Zhang, it's already 9:15, you're a little delayed, Li Shang complained. Zhang Chen said with a smile. You are too impatient. This is also the reason why I am liked by girls. If you don't believe me, just wait. A girl will be sent to you soon. You are not experienced enough. Li Shang felt a pain in his heart. Why did he bring up this issue again? But someone will come to your door later. This is China. They haven't gone out to socialize for 2 days, it's impossible. He was about to speak in rebuttal, when suddenly a figure flashed before his eyes, and all he could see was a head of wavy blonde hair. Brother Zhang, it's such a coincidence that I can meet you here. I've been playing crazy in Magic City these 2 days. I'm sorry that I didn't look for you right away. I promise that in the days to come, I will never run around and listen to your words. A foreign woman stood in front of him with her back to Li Shang, leaving him with a beautiful back view. The person who came was none other than Kasha. She looked at Zhang Chen with big eyes full of grievance and pity. This is actually true, can you still be ridiculous? Li Shang twitched the corner of his mouth and silently raised his head to look at the sky. How could the world treat him like this? It was so difficult for him. Zhang Chen knocked on Kasaji. If this doesn't happen next time, will you live here too? Since Kasha has traveled thousands of miles to come here from country M, it means agreeing to become his employee and be controlled by him. It doesn't matter if the contract is not signed or negotiated. I live above, and I'm coming back to pick up some things this time, Kasha answered honestly. Yeah. Zhang Chen thought for a while and said, okay, you must have seen the news. The plane has been bought back, but I still need to modify it. Just wait, and I will reimburse you for the return trip. After speaking, he patted Li Shang on the shoulder again. Brother Li, you have recovered your senses, we can set off. Li Shang recovered a little and whispered. It turned out to be her, I'll just tell you. As long as a strange beauty doesn't pounce on him, he now feels that the world is alive again. Behind, Kasha looked at the 6 people, feeling a little strange. The expression on that person's face fluctuated so quickly that she couldn't even see it. However, I finally met Mr. Zhang in the plane. Kasha walked into the elevator excitedly. China Southern Airlines Academy is a place dedicated to training high-quality flight attendants and captains. Of course, in addition to the cabin crew, ground staff and other personnel are also trained, but these are not the mainstream directions. There is a limit on the number of trainees recruited each year, but there are still many. However, the number of captains, stewardesses, etc. that are actually trained is relatively small. The real reason is that whether you are a captain or a flight attendant, the graduation requirements are extremely strict. Stewardesses have requirements in terms of age, appearance, weight, language, skills, etc. After Zhang Chen, Li Shang and 6 other people arrived here, not long after they entered, 2 people walked out of the school. The 2 of them smiled politely from a distance apart. Are they Mr. Zhang and Mr. Li? It's me. Zhang Chen nodded. 153. He had previously contacted the school and wanted to recruit some flight attendants and airport personnel. No proof was given, and he only told the other party that he had bought an Airbus A380 and was planning to modify it. It's the plane that's been in the news recently. If an aviation school can be opened, the school will naturally understand the value of the Airbus A380, and those who can buy it must be the kind of rich people. The other party wanted to recruit employees from them, and they agreed very happily. The 2 sides met in the middle. The people received by China Southern University were an old man and a middle-aged woman. The old man stretched out his palm. Hello, Mr. Zhang, I am the vice president of Nanchung University. This is the instructor of Skills Class 1. Hello. Zhang Chen smiled and shook hands with the 2 of them, and then said, I won't introduce you much, you all know what you need to know. I hope I can recruit employees here that I am satisfied with. The instructor of Skills Class 1 narrowed his eyes. Don't worry, Mr. Zhang. The class you go to is a gathering place for the elite of China Southern Airlines, and it will definitely satisfy you. Here are some of you, please. I have already gathered the students for you in advance. Now it's up to you, Mr. Zhang. Seeing this, the deputy dean did not follow him, but said, Coach Liu, please follow me. I have something else to do, so I'll excuse you now. Mr. Zhang, Mr. Li, I'm sorry. Zhang Chen waved his hand. It's okay, I can do it with Coach Liu alone. As everyone walked inside the academy, what they saw were all handsome men and beauties, and no one had a bad appearance. There was a ringing sound from somewhere, and all the students walking on the road quickly ran away. Li Shang's eyes followed, and he suddenly whispered, Brother Zhang, it's nice here, are you interested in those? Zhang Chen rolled his eyes. What can you tell from this? The distance is too far. I hope that one skill class can do well. His casual tone made Counselor Liu feel angry. Was he looking down on the students she taught? Are you still questioning the quality of the college here? Mr. Zhang, the place is just ahead. You can go in by yourself. Do you need me to accompany you? Zhang Chen looked at it and said, No, Li Hu can just follow me. Brother Li, are you interested in going with us? Li Shang didn't say anything, but followed up and responded with actions. In Skills Class 1, 30 female students are sitting in their respective seats. Their general age is around 21 years old. The class time has arrived, but no teacher has arrived yet, and there is no special notice. Only some related students received the message. What do you mean? Just tell us to tidy up our appearance. We were not required to do this before. Who knows, maybe there will be a surprise for us, such as sending a handsome boy to teach. Humph, you idiot, maybe a company came here to recruit people, and then a 40-year-old uncle came in. Bah, you're such a nymphomaniac. 30 girls were chattering and discussing, keeping their voices under control to a certain extent. When people listen to it, it feels like bees are buzzing. Suddenly, the 30 girls gradually became quiet, because a handsome guy came in from outside the class, followed by 2 men. The key is that the handsome guy actually stood directly on the podium and looked down at them. Some girls exclaimed, Wow, I love it, a handsome little brother Wong has come in. Idiot, is he a teacher? Why did he get to the podium? What do those 2 men outside do? Why do they look so fierce? When Zhang Chen heard these words, he suppressed his smile and glanced at Li Shang without any trace. he was destined to be hit hard today. Seeing that the chatter of these 30 people was gradually getting louder. Ahem. Zhang Chen coughed twice, looked around and said, "Everyone, please be quiet. I am Zhang Chen, the chairman of Nanchung Real Estate. I am here to recruit employees today. I recently purchased an Airbus A380 and am going to modify it. The place has a lot of space. If you need some flight attendants, the salary will be 50,000 yuan plus bonus and performance bonus. Do you have any questions or are you interested?" They are all young people, and he never likes to talk nonsense, use money to talk, and set conditions. The benefits provided are definitely the best, and of course, there are definitely requirements. Although you don't necessarily have to accept all flight attendants, they can be seen as eye-catching. Why should you look at ugly women when you can look at beautiful women? If something wonderful happens, he won't say no. The entire skill class 1 suddenly became quiet. The 30 beauties all had their eyes wide open and were all stunned. Basic salary of 50,000 per month, plus bonuses and performance awards. This year, there is a minimum guarantee of 500,000 yuan. If you do better, you can sprint to 60 million yuan. It is impossible for ordinary flight attendants to have such a high salary. They can earn about 100,000 yuan a year, which means they're doing well. The entire class, 30 beauties, suddenly became excited and felt their heartbeats beating faster. Sitting at the front, a girl with soft and beautiful features 0.1 raised her hand and asked, "Chairman Zhang, I want to be your employee. What are your conditions for recruiting employees? How much does the specific staff charge? Are there any special requirements? Where is the workplace?" As soon as her question was asked, the discussion in the whole class became much quieter. Now that I have entered this industry, I know some unspoken rules and the like through the internet, so I will naturally pay attention to them. Zhang Chen thought for a while and said directly, "This really exists. I'm not sure about the specific personnel because I'm going to install a swimming pool in my aircraft. I don't know how much space is left. I'll recruit 10 first. The starting point for my work is Nanchung for the time being, and I can radiate wherever I want. Special request, don't have a boyfriend. After all, I still have some thoughts about you." Zhang Chen said this last sentence in a joking manner. But when he said this, he seemed sincere. After all, a young big boss came to recruit a bunch of beauties, but in the end he had no idea about any of them. No one thinks that is possible, unless it is a liar or something like that. Li Shang, who was standing at the door, heard this and was secretly happy. "You have said it clearly, no one should dare to come in now, right? At worst, you have to complain a few times, or curse secretly." The 30 beauties in Skills Class 1 fell silent, taking in the information just now, which contained a lot of content. What kind of aircraft can have a swimming pool inside? Not one that has ever been talked about by a boyfriend. There is no clear destination. Is it the rhythm of flying around the world? Seeing this, Zhang Chen just stood on the podium, looking down at the group of people, waiting for their reactions. Discussions immediately broke out under the podium. If a swimming pool is built into the airplane, how big is the airplane? It won't be a mini swimming pool, right? It shouldn't be a mini one. The school agrees that he comes to recruit. The information must be correct. In addition, he offered a monthly salary of 50,000 yuan, which is not a lie. Do you remember that the Airbus A380 landed at Shanghai Modu International Airport? Could it be that he is the owner of the machine? They were only concerned about the first few issues. As for the boyfriend, no one mentioned it. After some discussion, I guessed Zhang Chen's other identity. The girl who asked the question before raised her hand and said, "Mr. Zhang, what do you think of me? I am a skilled flight attendant, and I know the wine culture very well and I am motivated. Mr. Zhang, I have never had a boyfriend. I can go anywhere in the world. Mr. Zhang, I have never had a boyfriend. In addition to my flight attendant skills, I also know 3 languages and can sing." 30 people rushed to raise their hands, but only 5 flight attendants were in a bad mood and did not say anything. He kept mumbling something, and if he could walk in, he would know what he was talking about. "Oh, why did I want to talk to a boyfriend so early? If I had rejected that person at the beginning, I would be able to get married now. That's right, that man is handsome and rich, and most importantly, the salary is high. No, I'll break up when I get back. It's all that person's fault. The more I think about it, the angrier I'll get." Zhang Chen took this scene in his eyes and probably had some idea in his mind. He continued, "You can't see anything even inside the classroom. Go outside and stand in 2 rows. Why? The chances of picking 10 out of 25 people are still very high. 5 minutes later, on the playground of the classroom outside, 25 future stewardesses stood in 2 rows, all of them a little reserved. Being a flight attendant comes with many restrictions, including a college degree or above and a height of 160 centimeters or above. The weight should be around 55 kg, the image and temperament should be good, and the figure should be good. Zhang Chen stood at the front, while Li Shang and Li Hu watched from the side. However, Li Shang still felt a little resentful at this time. He had never been able to outdo Zhang Chen in terms of women, and he was very unhappy. After everyone arrived, the 25 beauties came forward one by one and introduced themselves. Zhang Chen took advantage of his free time to give everyone a professional eye and then filtered them based on their personal preferences. Not long after, 10 beauties who looked comfortable to him and had sufficient career potential stayed behind. Everyone else dispersed, and 10 people suddenly said in unison, "Hello, boss." "Yes." Zhang Chen nodded with a smile. "You're doing well. Then, I'll add a rule for you. The basic salary will only increase, not decrease. If I deduct your basic salary from now on, feel free to come to me. Shangguan Yan, you will temporarily serve as the captain of these 10 people and start working today." "Okay." Shangguan Yan nodded obediently. She was the one who asked 2 questions in a row before. At this time, she finally showed her value and impressed the boss. Shangguan Yan suddenly asked, "By the way, boss, where will we go to work?" Zhang Chen was slightly startled. "Well, you guys just stay here and study. I'll let you know when the time comes. Depending on the progress of the decoration, I still have a lot of things to do, so I'll do this for today." After giving a few random instructions, he left with Li Hu and Li Shang. As soon as he left, the 10 people immediately started discussing excitedly. "The boss is a rich, handsome man, but he is still very young. Now I finally know what it is like to experience it. HMPH, the boss won't be yours anyway, it belongs to me. I'm going to crawl to the place where the boss sleeps, hee. The boss will like you, and I'm pretty good at it. What can you do?" Shangguan Yan raised his eyebrows and sighed. "What are you arguing about? Go check out how much the Airbus A380 is worth and how much the minimum cost of modification is. When you come here to say this, do you really think that people are thoughtful when they say they're thoughtful?" There were 9 other people in the room with a lively atmosphere. Some of them looked unhappy and went to investigate on the spot. Zhang Chen naturally didn't know what was going on here. At this time, as he said, he really had a lot of things to deal with. The headhunting company hadn't found a captain for him yet, but the modification team that Wang Lian contacted personally had already arrived. Top design teams from home and abroad are all rushing over. I heard that there is an opportunity to modify an Airbus A380, which is at the fastest speed of 597. I am afraid that I will be robbed of the opportunity. Li Hu, go back to the Peninsula Hotel. By the way, you are contacting the company and asking them to send 10 contracts. Don't forget it. Zhang Chen was lying on the back seat of the Rolls-Royce and giving instructions casually. Yes. Li Hu reset the navigation. Half an hour later, in a conference room of the Peninsula Hotel. Zhang Chen sat at the main seat of the conference table, with top designers from China and top designers from the world sitting on the left and right sides respectively. You both were invited here, and you probably know what to do and share your views. My plane needs to be modified as soon as possible so that it can fly. China's top designers obviously had an idea, so they said, "It depends on Mr. Zhang. What is your lowest estimate? The cost of modification will have a serious impact on the design we give you." Zhang Chen thought for a moment. The modification is expected to cost less than 1.5 billion. After all, the price of the airliner equipped with a swimming pool is about the same, around 4 billion. But the company in country M wanted to cheat him and lost another 500 million. What nonsense. If the later effect is very good and he is making additional additions, then there is no problem. China's top designers were stunned for a moment. He only had one thought in his mind: who is the big boss in front of him? It's just a modification of an aviation aircraft. Although that aircraft is a private aircraft, the price is also very expensive. But 1.5 billion is still very shocking. This is almost half the price of the Airbus A380, and 1.5 billion is not a small number. Only the real top guys dare to play like this, right? The representative of the top international design team, who is a China expert, exclaimed, "Oh my God, Mr. Zhang, 1.5 billion, are you serious?" Then, he apologized. "I'm sorry, I was too shocked, and I didn't mean to question it. This is the first time in my 60-year career that you have done this." The most he has seen is a group company that only spent 800 million to transform it for commercial use. It's half of what Zhang Chen spends now. The representative of Huaxia Design swallowed a sip of saliva and asked nervously and excitedly, "Mr. Zhang, what elements do you want to appear in the design? For example, luxury, light luxury, elegance, red, etc." Zhang Chen thought for a while, tilted his head and said, "I only have one request. There should be no shortage of swimming pools, and the theme should be comfort and enjoyment. The plane is parked at the Magic City International Airport. You can go over and take a look. I can provide you with any data you want. You have 3 days to provide a basic modification plan, and I will decide which one to use." Representatives from both sides took a deep breath to calm down their excitement. "Mr. Zhang, don't worry. I will definitely follow your requirements and give you a satisfactory answer. Although I don't understand Chinese elements very well, my experience will guide me." After the two representatives left, Zhang Chen crossed his legs and felt that nothing happened at once. All these things take time. Design drawings, select drawings, buy materials and install, test, and finally take off. The door to the conference room was pushed open, and Li Shang walked in with his mouth raised. "Brother Zhang, you actually have the time to play here?" "Huh? Why don't I have time to play? I have nothing to do now?" Li Shang rolled his eyes. "There are people looking for you outside. They are all beautiful women, but they were stopped by your bodyguard." Zhang Chen clapped his hands and said, "Well done, those women always want to get close to me, and I'm tired of even saying, no." He felt that he could no longer visit this place. It was a bit scary, as the sky was ruthlessly attacking him. People who want to attract others and experience that feeling have no chance. And some people have begun to get tired of this feeling. Although Zhang Chen said so, he finally went out and took a look. The beauties he came to see were all old acquaintances of him, including Kasia, a blonde foreign girl, and Han Xiying from the Rolls-Royce 4S store. The girl of the Zhao family, Zhao Linger, and Nanchung Chen were with her. It's troublesome to have too many women, especially if there are a few beautiful women who haven't yet subdued themselves. It's even more troublesome to gather together. Han Xiying came to find Zhang Chen because Li Hu went to retrieve the Rolls-Royce. Kasia already knew that besides being interested in her, she was also a nominal subordinate. Zhao Linger and Nanchung Ru were in the same circle, and the news leaked out. Zhang Chen sat on the leather sofa with an indifferent expression, but in fact he already had a headache in his heart. If these women were playing tricks on him, it would be easy to handle them. He would just kick them away. There are so many women in the world, not a few of them. But Han Xiying looked at her with resentment. She wanted to talk to Zhang Chen about something private, but now there were too many people to talk. Kasia, a foreign girl with a bold personality, wants to sit next to Zhang Chen. Being pulled back together by the three women, they were sarcastic overtly and covertly. Zhao Linger and Nanchung Ru are somewhat special. They are both good friends and love rivals. Suddenly, Kasia asked, "Mr. Zhang, how long will it take to get your plane ready? I'm always waiting." "It's all Kate's fault, otherwise it would be fine now." Zhang Chen spread his hands. "I don't know. The design team is already in place and is designing for me. It's hard to estimate. But at least a month, that's for sure. In this case, I made the wrong step in recruiting flight attendants. Should Pariah give me a salary? No matter what, after all, the monthly salary of those 10 people is added up, and he can get it right after sleeping for 1 day, which is just a drop in the bucket." Zhang Chen was chatting with them, thinking about various things in his mind. 10 stewardesses cost 50,000 each, 500,000 a month, and he sleeps for 1 day, 10 million. You really don't need to worry about the little money, just treat it as payment in advance. Do I need to pay for sleeping together? No, that is to give them benefits in advance, and there is also a certain comfort in it. Just like those young ladies who don't want to be blown away by the cold wind at the street corner. When someone leaves, they will take the initiative to provide financial help and warmth, and do not want to repay them afterwards. There are too few good people. But the damn thing is, there are always some people who are so hard-hearted that they will report it when they see this scene, alas. Zhao Linger interrupted his divergent thinking and brought the scene back to the present. She was a little disappointed and said, "Ah, that means I still have to wait a month. Brother Zhang, will you stay in the Magic City?" "Not 1 month, but at least 1 month," Zhang Chen emphasized. As for whether he would stay in the Magic City, he didn't even think about it, so he just skipped it. Han Xiying loosened her collar and said to Zhang Chen, "It's too hot here, why don't you go to my place to get some air and cool down? None of your 2 Rolls Royces have been sold. I just want to sell them as new cars. How about, Brother Zhang, take me for a ride?" As she spoke, she rubbed herself next to Zhang Chen. Seeing this, the other 3 women felt a surge of unknown anger and almost yelled, "Let him go and let me do it." Kasha stood up and sat on the other side of Zhang Chen. "Brother Zhang, you came halfway across the world. I will follow you wherever you go." One of her hands began to be dishonest, wanting to scratch it and go to places it shouldn't be touched. When Zhang Chen was about to speak, Zhao Linger suddenly stood up and pulled him aside. "Brother Zhang, before I came out, my brother was saying that he wanted to see you. You can go back with me to see you. You can also follow these people." Nangang Ru said quietly, "Linger, I'm afraid that if we enter the main gate of the Zhao family, we just enter the main gate, right?" "You." Zhao Linger was immediately speechless and came closer. Zhang Chen rolled his eyes and reached out to pull Nangang Ru to sit next to Zhao Linger. He decided to deal with them one by one. And this scene happened to be seen by Li Shang. Soon, the waiter at the Peninsula Hotel saw a young man running out like a madman and yelling outside. Some people pitifully speculated that maybe they were emotionally hurt, which led to this. Zhang Chen asked, "Nangang Ru, we don't have much interaction, right? Why do you keep following me?" He had only met him a few times, and once he scolded him here. Another time it was at a party, but the two didn't communicate much. They just sat and ate, and they were misunderstood by others. And this is the 3rd time. It's hard to say whether the other party is coming over or what, it's very complicated. Nangang Ru was stunned for a moment, not expecting such a problem. Is this a disguised attempt to drive her away? Is it because she is not good looking, or is there something wrong with her recent personality change? She stuttered in response. It's that feeling that you are special and I want to get close to you." After saying that, Nangang Ru's face turned red. This was the first time she had said such words to a man. The men she had come into contact with before were all here to lick her and treat her like a queen. In the end, the more dismissive she was, the more those men would fight for her. But Zhang Chen was not such a person. He raised his eyebrows, a little surprised. "Do you think he is special? The most special thing about him is that in this hotel, he scolded the other party and still didn't think highly of him. Could it be that he has a bad temperament?" Zhang Chen looked at Nangang Ru strangely, but did not ask the other party. He looked at Kasha again. "What about you, as a subordinate? Why are you running around when you have nothing to do, and why are you still following me? In the magical city of China Southern Airlines Academy, I have found 10 cute new flight attendants for you. If you have nothing to do, go over and teach them. If you teach well, you will be rewarded. Go now. I will give you a basic salary of 50,000 yuan every month. It will not be in vain. This meat should be eaten piece by piece. Like Kasha, it's already in the bowl, so don't rush." But Han Xiying had already eaten it, so she could just keep it up for now. As for Nangang Ru, it's not easy to handle 877 at the moment. Only when her assets exceed her opponent's will she be confident. Otherwise, in the eyes of outsiders, he is always there for other people's money. Zhang Chen glanced at Zhao Linger again. This was his friend's sister. Should he take action? Waiting online, it's quite urgent. After being scolded with her lifeline pinched, Kasha opened her eyes in a grieved manner. "But, Brother Zhang, I want to follow you and translate for you." Zhang Chen waved his hands speechlessly and said, "No, we are in China now. Anyone who speaks a foreign language to me will be kicked out in a minute." The previous top international design teams were already teetering on the edge of danger. Zhang Chen persuaded Kasha for a while, and finally got Kasha to move, and Li Hu sent her to China Southern University. Zhao Linger brought up what she just said. "Brother Zhang, what I just said is true. My brother is now locked in the yard, training every day, and cannot access the internet. I really want to meet your friend. My grandfather also admires you very much. Let's go together. W. Are you going to meet your parents?" Han Xiying felt a little disappointed. She understood that she and Zhang Chen could not truly combine, and she had to fight for the current result. But being told it in person made me feel uncomfortable. Now these two are far ahead of her in body, temperament, appearance, and family background. Han Siying stood up silently. Brother Zhang, there is still something to do in the store. I will go back first. Send me your authority when you have time. After saying that, he quickly left the hotel lobby, which caught the three of them by surprise. Zhang Chen opened his mouth, but still didn't say anything. With half the people missing, the atmosphere was not relaxed, but a little weird. Zhao Linger and Nanchung Ru looked at each other, seemingly communicating with their eyes, and never separated for a moment. 2 minutes later, Zhang Chen raised his hand and waved it in the air as the two sides looked at each other. That's enough for you. Linger, I'll contact your brother. If he doesn't reply to me within 5 minutes, I'll go to your house and have a look, and forget about replying. It's easy for the 7 of us to meet. We will pick you up directly by plane from now on. Zhao Linger narrowed her eyes and smiled like a crescent moon. Okay, then it's settled. 5 minutes later, Li Hu, who returned from China Southern Airlines College, drove out in a Rolls-Royce again. In the back row, Zhang Chen sat in the middle, Nanchung Ru and Zhao Linger squeezed aside. Li Hu cleverly folded the rearview mirror in the car. CCDE. If you watch something you shouldn't, your bodyguard career will be in jeopardy. Fortunately, nothing inappropriate happened along the way from Peninsula Hotel to Purple Garden. There were only 3 people holding hands, looking like good friends. Zhang Chen sat in the car and watched as he walked along. The tall buildings gradually faded away, and green waters and green mountains came one after another. He was a little surprised and asked, Linger, this place is nice, are all Ziyuan like this? Zhao Linger nodded. Yes, there's a place close to the water and a private dock. It is the top villa complex in the Magic City. Are there any vacant houses for sale here? Yes, Brother Zhang, do you want to buy it? Zhang Chen explained. Yes, I may stay in the Magic City for a longer time and stay in hotels every day. That would be boring. People come into my room to pack things every day. Those people went in, and although they didn't move his things, they still made him feel a little uncomfortable. If you refuse, you will feel that the room is too messy and it will be difficult to make up your mind. Nanchung Ru said in time. Zhang Chen, Purple Garden in the Magic City is just one of the best villas in the Magic City. There are places with a better environment than here and with high-end connections and resources. For example, Zhu Jiantong and Thompson Yippen are both good. Unfortunately, she has a house in these 2 places. If she buys it, she can become a neighbor. Zhang Chen nodded slightly. Then go over and have a look when you have time, and you can buy a few more sets. While the 3 of them were talking, the car arrived at Building 36 of Ziyuan. Zhao Linger smiled and went to call the door. After Li Hu parked the car, he didn't go anywhere and just stayed around the car. Zhang Chen was pulled by Zhao Linger to the backyard. Nanchung Ru wanted to follow, but was stopped by the housekeeper. The housekeeper had a kind face but refused to let her go. Nanchung Ru rolled her eyes and suddenly said, My grandfather asked me to say hello to Grandpa Zhao on his behalf. Where is Grandpa Zhao? I want to see him. The butler's face froze, and as soon as this excuse came out, he had to lead the way. Zhao Linger didn't know about this yet, so she took Zhang Chen and was chatting happily with Zhao Muyan. Of course, this is just what she thinks she is happy about. There were black lines on Zhao Muyan's forehead one after another. He didn't know what he was thinking, and his words were perfunctory. Brother Zhang, after you bought that private jet, your momentum is getting stronger day by day. The atmosphere is not right, there is murderous intent. Zhang Chen keenly noticed that Zhao Muyan seemed to want to find trouble for him. Judging from Li Shang's fate, it should be a one-on-one fight. He asked Zhao Linger to come closer without leaving any trace. This is not because he is afraid of Zhao Muyan. His physique has been strengthened 3 times and he can push through without knowing the tricks. But now when it comes to fighting, what good does he do? It's thankless. Zhang Chen never does anything like that, so it's not surprising that he has such a choice. In the Purple Garden of the Magic City, in Villa number 36. 3 young people were sitting under a pavilion chatting, but it was already quiet. Zhang Chen did not answer Zhao Muyan's words, but planned to chat with Zhao Linger. Unlike others, he usually walked away from men. Zhao Linger didn't know whether it was intentional or unintentional, but she ignored her brother or attacked him. Brother Zhang, It's only been a few days since he bought the plane. Why don't I feel any momentum? And it's very powerful, isn't it a good thing? Zhao Muyan felt very aggrieved. Linger, you. He wanted to ask at this moment, am I your brother, or is Zhang Chen your brother? However, even if he spoke out, the result would not be satisfactory to him. Zhao Muyan was silent. Zhang Chen looked at this scene with a smile. Brother Zhao, why are you angry? When my private jet is refitted, I will invite you there too. That's right. Zhao Linger nodded and said, Brother Zhang is not that stingy. You should learn more. Me? Stingy? Zhao Muyan looked confused. Was it his fault again? He was just angry. His sister wanted to pester Zhang Chen every day, and she just happened to have an attack today. After all, Zhang Chen is liked by many women, and his reputation is not very good. It would be even more embarrassing if he loses in the end. Zhao Linger raised her head arrogantly. You can't say that, maybe it's because your mentality is unbalanced occasionally. That's right. Zhang Chen asked, but why does your brother stay here even when he goes out to play? You can't go out without the internet. Is this what you call a grounding? He originally wanted to be more direct, but it was difficult to explain other people's family matters thoroughly. Zhao Muyan's current appearance showed no emotion. If it were him, he would definitely not be able to bear it. Zhao Linger shook her head. It's not a grounding, it's the punishment Grandpa gave him last time he got me drunk. My grandpa is very strict. You can understand it when you see him, but he is pretty good to me. My brother will inherit the family business in the future, so he will be a little stricter sometimes. The old man is still very cute, but he won't let me touch his beard. There are also some photos he treasured. They all have secrets, but it's a pity that I haven't seen any of them. As she was talking, she realized something was wrong in the atmosphere. Zhang Chen kept winking at her, while her brother lowered his head and looked at his feet. Zhao Linger slowly turned her head, and the first thing she saw was Nanchung Ru, who was smiling playfully. Wasn't she blocked outside by the housekeeper? When she moved, she saw her grandfather with a dark face, watching her silently. I don't know how long I have been standing behind her. It was simply terrifying. She was only 1 meter away. Mr. Zhao said with a smile. Linger, bring your friends here, you don't even know how to talk to me, an old man. Nowadays, each of the younger generations is more fierce than the last. Mu Yan still doesn't grow up fast enough. As he spoke, he looked at Zhang Chen. You are the Zhang Chen that Linger and Mu Yan have always mentioned. The plane you bought caused a sensation, and Yanjing also heard about it. After the swimming pool renovation is completed, you will become a celebrity in the second-generation circle, and your reputation will also increase in the current circle. Zhang Chen looked stern and immediately realized that the other party was reminding him. The purchase and modification of the Airbus A380, the repercussions and chain reactions were far greater than he imagined. His current circle is already very large, but compared to the older generation like Mr. Zhao, he still lacks experience and vision. Zhang Chen stood up and said, Yes, Zhang Chen. I bought that plane purely because of my personal preference. I have no intention of comparison. I don't know when I will be able to fly into the sky. I was planning to visit you later, but you came over in person. Mr. Zhao waved his hand. It's okay, I'll just come and take a look. It's true that Mu Yan hasn't been out for a long time. Then let's go out. If you want to go out, go out. Linger will come to me later and ask you something. After speaking, Mr. Zhao wandered away, leaving the 4 young people speechless. Zhao Linger was the first to react, with a bitter look on her face. It's over, I'm going to be grounded, don't I know a little bit of his secrets? I knew it would be unfair to drag Zhao Muyan into this, but I am the only one involved. Seeing her muttering angrily secretly, I felt a sense of relief. Sure enough, evil people have their own set of challenges. How dare you arrange for someone to block her? How can she be so easy to deal with? Zhao Muyan closed his eyes, his heart full of sorrow. He had loved this sister in vain when he was a child. Nanchung Ru pulled Zhang Chen to sit down. Linger, I advise you to go find your grandfather now. Maybe he will change his decision to be grounded for a month. The 3 of us are waiting for you here. Zhang Chen looked at Zhao Linger, who was furious, and ran out, a little speechless. Brother Zhao, I see you are very happy about being grounded. How could Linger react like this? Zhao Muyan's mouth twitched. Obviously he couldn't tell the truth. He immediately said perfunctorily, well, maybe it's because of her different personality. She's a little more out of the box. Not to mention that, What step have you taken with the plane now? Zhang Chen said with a smile. There are still 4 captains to go, as well as the design and modification of the interior. It will definitely become popular after success. Although it is not my intention, I am happy to think about it. The 3 of them chatted, but Nangang Ru didn't say a word the whole time, and looked sideways at Zhang Chen from time to time. Brother Zhang, have you sent someone to apply for the route of your private jet? If not, you can't fly at will. There are restricted air zones. Zhao Muyan said and made 2 gestures with his hands. Flying at will, the consequences of being caught will be serious. With a bang, you can be shot down easily. Zhang Chen spread his hands. Before I could come, Linger said that you and your grandfather wanted to see me, so he came over first. In fact, it's not that he didn't have time, but that he forgot about it. Li Hu didn't quite understand either. Those foreign captains just mentioned a few words casually. Zhao Muyan's expression froze, he opened his mouth and said nothing. He obviously never said that, and his grandfather would not take the initiative to invite the younger generation to meet him. That time has not yet come. Zhao Muyan looked at Nangang Ru and then at Zhang Chen, feeling confused. Suddenly, in the direction of the villa, Zhao Linger ran over happily. HMPH, someone actually said that my grandfather wanted to ground me for a month. It scared me, but it turned out he was bluffing me. I told Grandpa, brother, you have to bear it for me, brother, do you have any objection? Nangang Ru said with some jealousy. I will cheat your brother with my favor all day long, really. Seeing that the 2 women were about to quarrel again, Zhang Chen rolled his eyes and invited, Brotherly, why don't we go out? I just happened to call Mr. Wang and the others. A few of us are gathering together. Zhao Muyan nodded repeatedly. Okay, let's leave now. It's almost as good as booking a place. I'll contact Yi Xing and Feng Jia, please inform Li Shang and Mr. Wang. If he stayed there, he didn't know where he would be sold by his sister, and he might be grounded for 7 days inexplicably. The 2 made an agreement and immediately got up and walked outside. Zhao Linger and Nangang Ru stopped arguing and chased out of Chuan.